Good evening. The school committee business workshop session of August 25th, 2025 will now come to order. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available for viewing on the Methuen Public Schools website. Just as a quick housekeeping item before we take the roll call, just to point out that I had misplaced my handy-dandy timer, and I found it today in a drawer in my desk, and so we will have the return of the 5-minute timer so that we can stay on track. With that, I will ask the secretary to call the roll.
Member DiZoglio?
Yes.
Member Donovan? Present. Member Keegan?
Present.
Member Maxwell?
Yes.
Member Shabilia?
Here.
Member Willett?
Yeah.
Mayor Beauregard?
Here. Everyone's here. We need a motion and a second to accept the amended agenda for August 25th, 2025 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from member Shabilia, the second is from the vice chair. Any discussion?
Right here.
Member Maxwell?
I'd like to motion to amend the agenda, only because where it says all of the topics, it has the people who requested the agenda's item on the agenda. And where it says administrative job descriptions, it appears that my name is not next to that, and it should read administrative job descriptions and role clarity across the district.
And then discussion by Member Maxwell.
Does member Maxwell have a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll take a vote on the proposed amendment to the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We need a motion and a second to accept the agenda now as amended further here. Motion and a second to accept as amended. Okay,
Second.
all right. Did you move, or I know you seconded?
Thought someone moved.
So
moved.
All right,
I thought
thank
someone
you.
moved
Okay.
it,
All
and
right.
then you wait for the
Do
second.
we have any other discussion? If not, we will vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Excuse me, Mayor, I just didn't hear what Member Maxwell said after administrative job description,
Administrative job descriptions and role clarity, I believe.
Across the district.
in role clarity,
Discussion,
Across.
Member Maxwell.
clarity across the district, okay,
Yep.
thank
And
you.
discussion by Member Maxwell.
All righty. Now we will rise for the flag salute.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, if we could all remain standing for a moment of silence. Recently, the Methuen Public Schools community lost Tom Bissonette. He worked in Methuen from 2000 to 2007 as associate principal at the Timony. Previously, he worked in the Lawrence Public Schools as a teacher and administrator. He was a compassionate educator who enjoyed spending time in classrooms with staff and working with parents. When asked, those that met and worked with him would say that he was classy, kind, and genuine. And so tonight, we're going to remember Tom, and also, of course, we send our best wishes to his family, his wife, Betty, and Adam, his son. Thank you. Now move on to participation by the public. We have one person who has signed up for public participation, and that is Alejandro Baez.
Good evening, members of the school committee, Madam Superintendent, and everyone watching at home. My name is Alejandro Baez. I live on 152 Center Street here in Methuen. And today, I just want to present to you all today what I believe to be a simple ask, a simple way of keeping the public informed and keeping your neighbors and my neighbors aware of what's going on. And that ask, which I will say at the beginning, is to create a policy that all subcommittee meetings be recorded and or broadcasted, and you guys could figure out what type of language you want to use on that, but I just would like to see a policy that would say that all subcommittee meetings be recorded or broadcasted and then uploaded. Why do I say this? Well, for example, many of the times the subcommittee meetings minutes aren't uploaded to the website. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And what ends up happening is that when members of the public want to reach information, what they have to do is go into the agendas and look at and press on the links of the minutes that are up for approval to look for the minutes of said policy or facility subcommittee meeting that they want to look at. If a policy could be in place to make sure that all subcommittee meetings be recorded or broadcasted would be great. As a member of the public and resident of Methuen, I think that would be beneficial for all. I also believe that since a lot of the subcommittee meetings, at least recently, have been through Zoom, it wouldn't be such a terrible ask, as Zoom itself has a recording feature that wouldn't be such a difficult task, right? Just to press the record button on Zoom and then send it over to whatever infrastructure you guys have as a school committee that uploads it to your YouTube channel. When the subcommittee meetings are in person, I understand that that's more of a difficult ask. Sometimes subcommittee meetings are scheduled, days before, weeks like a week before, and it may be more difficult to find that infrastructure. But that effort, that extra effort, is worth it. I believe that subcommittee meetings, recordings, or even recording and broadcasting isn't, a huge cost to the district, or at least a cost at all. I don't know, but it's not a hard ask, whether that be financially or just effort-wise. And regarding the minutes to the subcommittee meetings and posting them on the website, when they're up for approval, I understand that they might not be published because they haven't been approved yet by the school committee. However, when they are approved, they should be uploaded to the website from that meeting, instead of just being on the agendas. And I know that may be difficult to keep up with, but as public employees, I believe that it's important for transparency purposes and accountability purposes. Just because I'm bringing this because and I'll give an example of a specific subcommittee meetings and why this is important. Let's look at the subcommittee meetings. I was in attendance for a couple subcommittee meetings where a lot of important information came up, but because there wasn't any recording and because I'm a lefty and my handwriting isn't great, my notes weren't as much of a help. For example, in the last subcommittee meetings, there was talks about the cameras that we use and whether or not they have audio. Now, it was said, and I don't remember who said it, but it was said that the cameras don't have audio. But I am under the understanding that our system does have audio, or at least that the systems have the capability to have audio, to be enabled or disabled. And without the recording, I wouldn't be able to go back to the specifics of that. Or if the minutes aren't published where they are, it's going to be it's the next barrier, it's an obstacle for me to get there. Furthermore, in that subcommittee meeting, there was no talk about the wellness policy. The same wellness policy that in the previous meeting on August 11th, this regular business meeting for the school committee was tabled so that it could be talked about during the subcommittee meeting. Yet it wasn't. And, now it's not on the agenda today either. It was tabled, and it's the wellness policy, which is important, and I believe it's required to have on the district and in the handbook. Yet it was tabled, and it wasn't talked about when it was supposed to be talked about. And the public should have that knowledge and the ability to look for that in a way that isn't inconvenient. That's all. That's really what I'm doing up here, is for the convenience of our neighbors, for the convenience of our community, and for the convenience of you all when you're all looking back for information as well. I want to thank you all for the work that you have been doing, especially on the policy subcommittee, and you guys have been doing some good work, and some great questions have been raised. Let's just make sure that our community is able to hear and listen to those questions and to that work that is being done. Thank you all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? If not, at this time, I will close public participation. If you cannot make a meeting in person for public participation, you can send an email to Martha Sorois at masirois@methuen.k12.ma.us before 3 p.m. on the day of the school committee meeting. Tonight, we're going to be picking up where we left off at the last meeting with our agenda. We'll continue with new business, the superintendent's evaluation. We need a motion and a second to approve the evaluation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Member Shabilia, second from Member DiZoglio. Discussion? Member Maxwell, we're going to take, we'll have 2 5-minute rounds.
So this is the discussion regarding the evaluation, correct?
Yes.
So I just wanted to start out by saying I did not fill out an evaluation because I just didn't feel like my input would be considered when compiling the reports, since last year they were not. I don't believe that this evaluation is a true reflection of the performance of the superintendent. I was hoping that maybe we would be going section by section, because Mass State law is, open meeting is required to go over this regarding the professional competence of the superintendent. It's a public matter, and deliberations regarding that must happen in public. So since we're not going to go section by section, I'll just kind of go through with what I wanted to say, and if there's any questions or anything, maybe we could follow up after. The student learning, it was rated that with significant progress, and I know that we all know that I consider the literacy benchmarks, but just to take a minute to realize that our screeners, take those out of the picture for a minute, and state standard testing shows that our students aren't performing at grade level. In fact, 34% of them are. All of our reading specialists in this district stood here during budget time and told us that our kids are not reading at grade level and they're significantly behind. It also says that the superintendent performs walkthrough monthly to observe instruction and support, noting trends across the district. However, the one trend that we got no answer to was the underperformance of one specific school. The supporting evidence of the strategy plan meetings was a screenshot of days hosted with no context. The focus indicators were highlighted and chosen by Brandy, Dr. Kwong herself. However, the ones that are crossed out are the ones that actually I find important, and that actually evaluates her performance. So the professional practice goal, it says that you'll review and strengthen inclusive teaching practices and deliver multi-targeted supports to reduce opportunity and achievement gaps to improve outcomes. Did we take teacher input into consideration there? Did we review and revise the use of the WIN block and reading success block? Did we make any progress on the DCAP? Since that says that that's going to be done over the summer and the fall, I thought that, maybe we would have an update on that, since the last time it was updated was 12 years ago in 2013. The district improvement goal, the focus on belonging and engagement, it was said that there's significant progress there. When we didn't meet a return rate of the surveys, we actually got a 17% return rate instead of the 30. The survey was not able to be taken more than once for parents that have multiple kids, and it did not provide an open-ended feedback option. Specialty programs and extracurricular opportunities are not offered at each school, and if they were, I'd like to know how they empower student voice and engagement. The grade level family events, a lot of them were PTO events. There was no action plan to improve school culture based off of the survey results, and the MPS vision of the graduate has not been developed yet. That also says that it's going to be in the fall. So I don't know how we can rate someone based off of something that's not done yet. District goal number 2, the focus was chronic absenteeism. In 2021, it was 16.7%. 22, it was 34.6. 23, it was 19.4. And this past year, it was 24.8. Our dropout rate has increased by 1%. And we're only looking at extracurricular numbers for high schoolers, not the K through 8s. Standard 1, instructional leadership, the focus indicators here, those were the ones that were crossed out. Teachers have given us suggestions and input and to improve their schedules on student learning, only to be ignored and given the same options. Standard 2, management and operations. That one was rated needs improvement. However, it should be unsatisfactory considering our DCAP is, again, 12 years old. The DPH has rated our schools deplorable, and for someone that does monthly walkthroughs, that should have been noticed. Scheduling and management was rated proficient, but teachers have raised concern and been promised that it would be looked at, and it's the same consistently year after year. Families and community engagement, families don't feel welcomed. They don't feel like members of the classroom and that they can contribute. It's said that families receive quarterly literacy benchmark results, however, they don't. The professional culture, the proficiency was proficient. We've taken away ways for our students to learn about other students' backgrounds, identities, and they're definitely not respected. So continuous learning nurtures a culture in which staff members are reflective, which is not. So I guess I'll end with just saying that my problem with the evaluation is that it's not honest or accurate. Our district is struggling, and while we sit here and report to DESE that all is good, things are just getting worse. We're more worried about boosting our ratings than addressing the problems at hand. So no, I cannot participate in the evaluation process. That's my reasoning behind why I did not.
Other discussion? Member Willett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, there's no secret that in the past, I've had serious reservations about the evaluation. I'm totally dismissive of the composite methodology of the evaluation. Even if we have snippets of our remarks, it should be in total. So on the evaluation, each member should have their remarks included and not a composite. I know in Congress, they have a majority report and a minority report to highlight differences between the parties. And I know we're nonpartisan, but we definitely have differences of opinion about the superintendent and about the evaluation itself and about the progress of the schools. So when you have a composite, how are you going to reach a consensus when you have divergent opinions? We have flexibility as a committee to set a deadline for the evaluation. We're doing an evaluation before the audit has even been published. We spent $140,000. What was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of voting for the superintendent's contract? So I have major concerns about the evaluation. For instance, when you talk about, and it makes reference to the audit that we are still awaiting, and it says notable concerns and needs improvement in terms of the culture, but yet there's a proficiency rating. So if you have it within the language of needs improvement, how can you reach a determination of proficiency? And other things too with the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, I don't know if we're following their format completely. Okay, we ride the ship, we drive it. We could have this in the fall. We have a mad rush to do a superintendent's contract. We had a mad rush to do the evaluation. This is a special circumstance, spending really a significant amount of money. There's an expectation for the community to have that audit, and I don't see what was the rationale. We should have delayed the evaluation vehicle itself. But that would be my first round. Thank you.
Other discussion? Member DiZoglio?
Thank you. So I just want to hit the key point of management. That was my drive in the subcommittee. With what the events that have taken place in the last year, and especially in the last couple of months, this is where I believe in accountability across the board, where one person gets, well, be careful how to say it, gets disciplined, and then the rest, especially admin, are not. I feel like where I come from, everybody should be in trouble or suspended or relief of duty, because that's just how I grew up in a father that owned a trucking company. If one of his truck drivers did something wrong, he also held that truck driver, but he also held the manager responsible too. And when a lot of us members have heard about certain admin and how they treat our teachers, the fact that again, I don't know how it's being handled because I can't handle personnel, but I'm just saying, all of us have heard it. It's very hard to believe that admin have not heard what we're hearing about how certain people are treating our employees that have only been here for a short while. And where some of these teachers I grew up with, I don't expect someone that just walked into a position start treating my teachers that way they did. And I know everybody has heard it. I've heard it from teachers, how they're treated. And that's where I had to give the management a poor rating, because if I can hear it and everybody else can hear it in this town, I know central office is hearing it too. And if you're not, then you need to be going with the teachers and talking to them, because they're talking to us. So that's why, that's really what hit the nail in the coffin with me on that. Plus the other things with the mice and how it continuously keeps going, and we keep putting plans in place, and it just seems like we're spinning our wheels. So that's why I just wanted to focus. That's why I feel that rating needed to be the rating it had to be. That's all. Thank you.
Other discussion? Have a second round, or do?
No,
Member Donovan?
definitely.
Here we go. So I'm wondering, the subcommittee is supposed to present the findings. That's my understanding, because we have to vote on that. I've been tasked with presenting, because people don't all know what we're talking about, obviously. So I would be happy to present why we do it and give a brief synopsis of the evaluation that was put together by the subcommittee, with the assessments provided by those who did participate, because I know we have to vote upon it. I understand it is also in the packet and it is online. Okay? Sound fair? I think it would be very helpful. So let me start with this. The purpose behind this evaluation. And I ask my colleagues, Mr. DiZoglio and Ms. Keegan, to jump in anytime. So the why behind it. In Massachusetts, hiring and evaluating the superintendent is one of the school committee's 3 core responsibilities, along with setting policy and adopting a reasonable budget. The Department of Education, DESE, the DESE process begun in 2010 and updated in 2019, requires members to assess performance in instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. The evaluation cycle consists of 5 steps, starting with the superintendent's self-reflection and self-assessment, and ending tonight with the committee voting on whether or not to accept the final summative evaluation submitted by 5 members of the committee. The steps in between include goal setting, creating action steps, a mid-cycle assessment, and a review of evidence. This evaluative tool was established by DESE to ensure that the superintendent and all licensed educators in Massachusetts are measured against clear, concise, and timely expectations. I think it's really important to note the superintendent's goals are used by administrators and teachers when it's time for them to do the self-reflection and create their own goals. On October 15th, Dr. Kwong submitted her goals. 1, around literacy, which was the student learning goal, the professional practice goal, in which she said she would work to lead the district in reviewing and strengthening inclusive teaching practices to reduce opportunity and achievement gaps between certain student groups, and the district improvement goal, which was to focus on chronic absences. There was limited discussion on these goals, and the school committee voted unanimously to accept these goals. On February 24th, Dr. Kwong submitted evidence and gave us an update on progress of these goals. According to the minutes of that meeting, there was a discussion focused on the timeline of when we would get this done. At the June 26th meeting, Dr. Kwong presented her final evidence of her work towards the goal. The discussion at that meeting was focused on who would sit on the committee and that process. To support their assessments, all committee members were provided with evidence by Dr. Kwong related to her goals. This included student performance data, such as the literacy scores, attendance rates, records of family and community events, and minutes from classroom walkthroughs. Using the DESE rubric, members then conducted their individual evaluations. While members Maxwell and Willett did not submit theirs, evaluations from members DeZoglio, Shabilia, Beauregard, Keegan, and myself were synthesized into a single summative evaluation by a subcommittee. These are the steps suggested and required by DESE. Finally, in addition to our legal responsibility under state law to formally evaluate the superintendent, which is one of our few statutory duties, we are also contractually bound to do so. Article 4 of Dr. Kwong's contract specifies both her obligation and ours to complete the 5-step process in a set timeline. It does note, here's a direct quote, "The consensus shall be compiled by the committee chair upon submission to the chair of each member's individual assessment of the superintendent's performance." I did consult with our attorney because I was unsure, we're on uncharted grounds, about this information. He told me because 2 members did not complete their contractual duties, Dr. Kwong could, if she wished, legally challenge this evaluation, which could put us in a precarious legal situation. So that's the why behind it. And now if we can move, if everybody is watching, I'm sure they're wondering what the evaluation came out as. Let's just go through it really quickly. I know it was touched upon by some of the members. I think it's important to note, those who did pass in the evaluations did so independently. And when we sat down to look at it, it was pretty evident that everybody was on the same page. Some of the responses were identical. There were no outliers in this case, as there was last year. So basically, if you'd like to go over the goals, I don't know what the request, should we go over the goals briefly with the responses?
So I'm considering this outside the realm of discussion. This
Yeah.
is more of a committee presentation.
Yeah.
So absolutely, let's go through each one and
Okay,
Just
I'll
state
just
for
go
the
through it
record.
quickly. I know
Yep.
everyone has that. We can start with, let me see, so many papers. Okay, let's do the goals. The student learning goal, which was preponderance of those who did submit, that Dr. Kwong made significant progress. The student learning goals were around literacy, and basically called for accelerating students' literacy development and language acquisitions across all subject areas. The goal was to a percentage of students demonstrating grade-level reading proficiency would increase by 2 points, reaching 70% in students in grades K to 3, and increase by 3 points, reaching 68% for students in 4 to 8. She provided us with documentation, end-of-the-year literacy benchmark scores, and I know if we all have this information. Some of the classes went above and beyond, some of the grade levels went above and beyond the percents expected, some almost made it, and as a result, significant progress was the assessment. Also in that was that 70% of English language learners would demonstrate a 1% increase or a score level of 4 to 5 in English proficiency in writing between the pre and post benchmark testing assessments, which were given in September and May, respectively. Again, there were pockets of schools where students met that mark and some that came close. Again, contributing to the significant progress. And please jump in if I'm missing anything, members of the committee. The next was the professional practice goal, where Dr. Kwong will lead the district in reviewing and strengthening inclusive teaching practices and the delivery of multi-tiered target supports to reduce opportunity and achievement gaps between student groups to improve outcomes. There were goals set. The percentage of students passing all grade 9 courses will increase by 2%. Students at Methuen High with students with disabilities would be enrolled in advanced coursework, 32%, and by June 2025, 32% of Methuen's second language learners and former ELs would be enrolled in advanced coursework, for, again, the upcoming school year. She did, with all the goals, and I should have mentioned that, there were action steps included. And because these action steps were completed, some of them were completed, some of them weren't, there was a preponderance of the committee to determine that she made some progress towards this professional goal. And finally, the district improvement goal was, Dr. Kwong said she would work to enhance district and school partnership with students and families to increase connectivity, engagement, and belonging by empowering student voice and engagement through involvement in specialty programming and extracurricular activities. And she did list her action steps and provided us with a number of evidence, including the vocal survey presentation, a listing of school newspapers, newsletters, and family community events, the climate survey results, and as a result of that, it was a preponderance of the committee that she would be rated as significant progress. And I think I skipped an important thing that was mentioned in the final document, and that was about the improvement in attendance at each of the schools, and that is noted in the final document. So there are the goals. And then we were also asked to address the standards. And once again, this reflects it. This reflects every licensed staff member, every licensed educator in our district has to go through this process. So Dr. Kwong was rated on 4 standards, the first being instructional leadership. The areas of assessment included unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, and exemplary. And the proficient practice is understood to be fully satisfactory. So she was rated proficient in instructional leadership. Management and operations needs improvement. And there was a preponderance of the committee saying there were concerns with the operations of our buildings in light of the issues that came up with cleanliness and sanitary conditions. And that is in detail, written in detail in the report. Family and community engagement, Dr. Kwong was assessed as being proficient, and professional culture as proficient. I'm sure if there's any questions, my colleagues can jump right in.
Also, I recall to my other subcommittee members, we also said with this evaluation, we wish there was like a middle in between proficient and needs improvement. Because if there was, we would have probably checked those boxes as well. At least have that feeling of if there was an option there, we would have probably put the in-between. If I recall, that was part of the subcommittee.
It's noted in,
Yep.
in the actual final
Yeah,
product.
that's right. So I want the other subcommittees, when it came down to proficient and needs improvement, there was a lot of conversations of saying, we don't think it was a needs improvement, but we didn't also think it wasn't a proficient. So we wish there was a middle ground on certain things. But we all came down to the operations part. We all pretty much agreed that that needed the work as well. So just wanted to note that.
Thank you for the presentation, Member Donovan. Just to guide the discussion, we'll have a second round after everyone's finished speaking for the first round. So actually, I'm going to time myself. I'm not going to go over 5, but just to do that. I just want to state, just as out of a desire to be clear about the audit, I think that there's a lot of misconceptions out there, generally speaking, about the why, so to speak, behind the audit. The audit is not intended to be a gotcha moment. The audit is not intended to, in essence, serve as part of the DESE evaluation process for the superintendent. The audit, as I've stated consistently over time, the audit is intended to provide us with a definitive data-based roadmap to correct existing issues within the district, but also to chart a path forward for the district. And so I view the audit and this evaluation process as entirely separate. So I just want to state that clearly when it comes to the why. The idea behind the audit wasn't to present a gotcha opportunity regarding the superintendent or anyone else, but to, again, establish that roadmap. The evaluation process, for me at least, as a new mayor, was a little quirky where I wasn't able to participate last year. Former Mayor Perry participated in terms of his service as mayor and had his own evaluation. And so for mine, I went a little above and beyond and kind of colored outside the lines and offered thoughts about every area beyond the focus areas. So I went into a little more detail. But I want to mention for the public that this document, the final document presented before us tonight, but also our individual evaluations, those are all public record, available for folks to review and digest as well. So although it is a document here that we're voting on that summarizes the collective viewpoint, if you view the individual evaluations, you'll likely see a degree of diversity in terms of the specific responses and any data cited. So with that, if we're done with the first round, we can move on to the second round. We'll have Member Willett and then Member Maxwell.
Just very briefly, the composite methodology is an optional process. We could, as a committee, do the evaluation jointly, and under the open meeting law, we would have to do it in public. So I don't want to say that we're pigeonholed of doing a composite methodology as a standalone mandatory by the state. Even if you look at the Massachusetts Association School Committee guidelines, we could do an evaluation of the superintendent as a committee jointly and have our remarks part of the record. Secondly, by voting no, I'm doing an affirmative that I'm participating as part of the process. I'm questioning the methodology. I'm making my statements for the record. It's a public meeting. So any intimation that somehow I would be in violation of the superintendent's contract, I would test that in a New York minute. So I resent that implication. Again, I have serious concerns about the evaluation process. The composite was an optional methodology. We, as a committee, could evaluate the superintendent. There was no deadline set by the state. We set the deadline. And again, within the document itself, made reference to the audit. It wasn't us in opposition. It said it in the document itself and made reference to the audit, the forthcoming audit. So the evaluation committee linked it themselves, not us. So if I did my own evaluation, it'd probably be about 2 or 3 pages. I'm not going to have my remarks condensed into a composite. I can't see the logic of that. And give me an example of the State House or Congress or any other body. You have a majority viewpoint and minority viewpoint for the record. So I think, again, I said it last year, I appreciate the evaluation committee. I really do. I commend them for their efforts. I'm trying not to make this personal. I just have my issues with the process and that I think we're rushing. And we shouldn't be rushing. We set the deadline ourselves. We set the parameters ourselves. And we should be waiting for the audit because it's reflected in the evaluation itself. So that's it. Thank you.
Briefly, so Member Vice Chair has not spoken yet, so we'll hear from the Vice Chair, and then we'll have a second round, Member Maxwell.
As far as, I just want to clarify something. As far as the composite goes, it is actually in the superintendent's contract to do it that way. So we cannot vote as a committee to do it differently because it's in her contract exactly how we have to do the evaluation. So it doesn't matter whether somebody voted against it or not. The committee voted for the contract, and we are bound as the committee by the contract, right? So it's irrelevant what individuals voted, whether we have to follow the contract, and the contract clearly lays out how the evaluation has to be done. That's all.
Member Maxwell?
So to note that on that, it does say it in the contract. It also, in her contract, says that these need to be submitted by October 1st, the goals and focus indicators, and they were submitted October 15th. It also says that the evaluation instrument and the process of evaluation may be amended, modified, or abbreviated by mutual agreement in writing by the superintendent and committee. The written agreement on additional goals must be entered into by no later than October 1st of each school year. The committee shall review the superintendent's progress at the end cycle on goals and self-evaluation in a public session prior to the commencement of the next school year. Shall complete a summative evaluation assessing attaining the goals against standards using the 4 DESI rubric ratings. I will say that the goals, I did vote yes on, I did approve, because I do think that they are great goals. However, the indicators, the focus indicators are where I struggle, because the ones that are crossed out are the ones that I feel like we know would be unsatisfactory. And that's why they're crossed out. So I think that next year, or by October 1st, it's very important for us to pay attention to the focus indicators. That way we can give a real evaluation. And just so we're aware, it does say on or before June 20th of each calendar year, the superintendent shall provide the committee during a public meeting with a written self-evaluation on end goals. That was not done before June 20th, so that was actually June 26th. So I actually have that right here. So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on the expectations and rules and laws of this evaluation, because I've done a little bit of homework since it's been said that I'm not aware of what is actually going on. So I would like to go over the focus indicators. However, I know that we are kind of limited to our time. But if that's something that the subcommittee wanted to go over, I would welcome that. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Second round, Member DiZoglio?
So just hearing everybody's, I'm just going to give my opinion. When it comes down to her goals next time, we can always add on to her goals. We can always have a discussion if we want those goals to be her goals. We have that power to do that. Instead, we all sit here, including myself, and we approve it. But it seems like this time around, because I'm guessing that when the goals will be presented to us for the school year coming soon, or do we already do that? My brain, first day of school. I'm so sorry. By what?
October 1st.
Yeah, so when we see those goals, because I know I'm going to be adding on when it comes to management, October 1st, we're doing the goals this year. Oh, I will be. Yeah, not yet. Not yet. But if people don't want those goals, vote no or add on. That's all I'm saying. I feel like everybody is giving their input, which I love, but at the same time, I feel like we made that decision when we voted on it. But next time, let's not, if we have to be here until 10 o'clock at night to make sure the goals are set, then we set that. That's our responsibility as committee. I know, but if we have to, that's our job. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Member Shabilia?
So first off, I agree with Member DiZoglio. The goals are on us. Yeah, look at well, don't get used to it. The goals are on us. We agreed to them. It is what we agreed to. but I'm a little hung up on the focus on the audit, and I think that we have crossed a bit because the structure of the evaluation is not audit-based. When we build goals in October, which we should have our audit by then, and it should be presented by then, we could build goals with the audit in mind from those findings, corrective action plans, and all that other stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about when we get to the end of our agenda here, because it's all part of the update. But nothing in this rubric should have been based on the audit. Nothing in this rubric should have been based on water cooler conversation or messages and conversations with teachers. That's not what this is. Those things are used when you're building your goals, not when you're evaluating them. I know that it sounds ridiculous, but that's the way the system is built. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's the way this system is built. You don't have to like it. I openly said to Member Keegan when she called and said, hey, did you do your superintendent evaluation? And I went, no, I have to do that. This process is kind of silly. You're also the only one in the city who gets one, which I think is, and it's public. Could you imagine putting the fire chief or the police chief or the DPW director or the mayor or anybody else in that chair? People would be in tears. Like, but I think that we need to focus on what's actually happening. And I think that this evaluation is an accurate description of what's actually going on. Yes, there's a lot of unnecessary and 100% fixable, and we're doing it. That task force is doing it when it comes to the buildings. And this reflects that. But otherwise, me, myself, and I, who before my time on the school committee, and I've told the superintendent this, I blamed her for all of the problems that I saw her in the schools. She was, and I've said it before, you have the worst PR in the city. But I've sit there and I've watched what she's done, and I've watched what they do, and when the phone rings, when we're in a meeting, and now she's dropping out of our meeting to go to whatever school, and then Ian disappears, and then Lisa, and everyone's off doing stuff. So, like, I get why we're increasing, and I get why some people are also unhappy. But I also see why everyone's working their tails off. And I get it. But no one's ever going to be happy with this process. But I think that it's a fair representation of what's going on. I'm always told, because I have to do these with my employees every year, and I hate doing reviews. It's the worst part of my job every year. No one gets exceptional. No one ever gets exceptional. Every year you did teacher evaluations, did anyone get exceptional? Exemplary, exceptional, whatever you want to call it. This I think is something to be proud of. And next year, when the task force says, hey, look, we're all done, and the superintendent can stand there and say, our buildings are better than they have been in 40 years, now let's go build a new one, and the mayor says, hey, here's the money, go for it, it'll be better. And we've come so far, and we still have so far to go. But I just don't want to keep mixing this with the audit. That's, I guess, where I started and then derailed. I don't want to mix this with the audit. The audit is coming. We'll have our chance with that. Thank you.
Yeah, let's take a vote. We'll take a roll call vote on the evaluation of the superintendent.
Member DiZoglio?
Yes.
Member Donovan?
Yes.
Member Keegan?
Yes.
Member Maxwell?
No.
Member Shabilia?
Yes.
Member Willett?
No.
Mayor Beauregard?
Yes.
5-2 passes.
Superintendent's evaluation has been approved. We now need a motion and a second to approve the Rangers Club salary range change.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from the vice chair, the second is from member Shabilia. Discussion? Member Maxwell?
Are these raises already included in the budget that we approved this year?
This program is a revolving account. It's not in the operating budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Shabilia?
How is this going to impact the cost of the program?
So it's it's not going to impact the cost. What we're trying to do is make sure the ranges are competitive and we're not losing staff within the two that were really close and overlapping were the assistant coordinators and group leaders. So we're trying to move that needle a little bit more and give more room for growth in those two particular opportunities. Jennifer Fernandez and I met, there does not need to be any increase at this point.
Awesome.
You guys already did an increase for other costs. This didn't play a factor in that increase to begin with. So we'll be able to cover this with anything that is already in place.
It's a fantastic program. I know the folks at the Marsh do an amazing job. The kids come home happy every day. I mean, it's an easy yes for me.
Vice Chair?
I hate to say this, but I'm a little concerned that the ranges are still too low. I'm just concerned.
Do this every
because-
time. It's like a little dance.
I know, but I just feel like we're not paying high enough to retain people, and I don't know that these ranges are high enough to keep people.
So I so deeply appreciate the comment. And I think the one, if you notice, the range that has become the most competitive for us is the actual coordinator position. That range has gotten a little bit bigger. That's probably where you see the most change, so that we have flexibility in folks who are coming with different experience. That is a little more competitive for us in this area. The 16 to 22 for group leaders, that is, those are high school junior seniors, maybe college students. Some program assistants like to come back and be group leaders after their school day ends. So we're trying to make that a little more competitive with sort of the average hourly rate wage, which kids would get around here. So, I mean, we again, instead of moving this up too quickly, too fast, which then could impact what we're charging a little bit differently, I think, we're hoping for this to be a good starting place. We haven't done it in a few years, so I think it's time and it's appropriate. Yep.
Please pardon the sneeze attack. Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Do a roll call vote? Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. Brain, first day of school.
All right, now I'll invite Member Donovan to begin the discussion regarding the MASC training.
You should have all received the email, and the link now works. Alicia, who is our MASC liaison, sent a very brief questionnaire to everybody, asking what areas that we feel we need some attention given to. Did you all get it? Okay, hopefully everyone responded, maybe right now. And so she's going to get that information, put something together for us, and she'd like to come present, because this is a policy and we are obligated to complete additional training through a policy that we adopted. So we need to pick, it's going to take about an hour and a half. We need to pick a date. She is available most of September, except for September 10th. She also is available some weekends. So what is the pleasure of the committee? Obviously, it's only going to be impactful if we're all there.
May I ask a question, just a clarifying question as the school committee secretary? Is this a meeting that would be like a school committee meeting, or is this a school committee retreat? Like, how does this work?
That's a good question.
her.
I was under the impression it would be a public meeting.
Okay, handled as a public meeting, and she would come at the podium?
Yeah. Kind of remember Attorney McCarroll. Remember Mike McCarroll came and did a whole thing?
Right.
For us.
Right, but he did it as part of our public meeting. I don't understand why a training, it's not like when we do charting the
have to-
course, it's not a
Yeah, is
public
it
meeting.
posted, can we find that out?
Yeah,
We'll find that out.
that's easy.
You
That's
should
easy.
confirm.
I'll find that out.
led me to believe that it would be. And frankly, I would advocate for the public
Yeah.
knowing what we're trying to work on, and get better at.
Yeah, more the
So
merrier.
what is the pleasure? Can we all pull out our phones to check now?
Could we do an hour and a half maybe before one of our regular scheduled 6 o'clocks?
I think that would be best, yeah.
I don't know if that works.
Now, here's another question. Would it be possible, and this might be easier for the folks from MASC, it might behoove us to find out whether they'd be able to do like a remote presentation, and we can Zoom them in via video, something like that.
She'd like to come.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, even
she's-
better, even
She'd
better.
love to come.
Yeah. So,
She'd love to see us in action.
yeah. So maybe what we could do is reach out to MASC, to Alicia, to maybe see if an upcoming meeting date might work, and then we can,
She has, let's give her a few. Let's give
Yeah.
her 2 at the most, okay? So September 8th, we already have,
Yes, September 8th, we're going to have to do an executive session to open at 5 o'clock with Attorney Macaro, so I think that might be off the table,
okay.
just because of timing, but the workshop meeting in September could be done before.
Excuse me?
The workshop meeting in September,
Yeah.
the 22nd, could be done before.
It's with the pleasure of the committee. Okay.
I'm sorry, not the 22nd, the 24th,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Wednesday, the 24th. Ours is off because of, I believe, Rosh Hashanah. It's a Wednesday. We pushed it because it's Rosh Hashanah on Monday.
Okay.
that sounds good?
I will send
Yeah.
that to her tonight.
That'd be great. And then we'll
I
post it
wondered-
as a public meeting beforehand, as like a
And I'll
special
check
meeting
with
maybe.
her. I will
Yeah.
check with her.
Yeah, just ask her how it's posted.
Yeah.
Like, are we all here? Is it just one agenda? Is it a retreat, but it's public and we have it for viewing? I'm not sure how to organize that to
One
make sure.
thought we could maybe just have it be a special meeting.
Likely. I
Yeah.
just need to make sure if it's like this, but we don't have to be here, or should we be here and a part of it? I just don't know what the process would be. We haven't done
That was
that.
pretty open. Yeah.
Right, and it make sure that we have the studio open for broadcasting. If it needs to be broadcast publicly, then we'll make sure they're here at 4:30.
So we'll hear from Member Willett, then Member Maxwell.
I don't have a problem with that. I think, having it open to the public, just as a training forum, because I think collectively, we would always have to learn, the learning process is good, and then the folks at home, and if anybody's in attendance, I really don't have a problem with that. I think it's an hour and a half duration, and it'd be before our workshop. I really don't have any qualms about it, so I would be supportive of it.
Member Maxwell?
Just a quick question. I know in our policy, it says that we'll complete one additional workshop sponsored by MASC each year. The decision of the topic will be decided by the whole body within the first 3 meetings of the calendar year. So I know that some of us won't be here at the end of this year, and I'm not saying I don't want to do it. I do want to do it. I'm just saying that if we do this one before December, we need to discuss within our first 3 meetings of next year what our next topic will be. I just wanted to, remind us, just because I know if we do this one now, it's like, oh, okay, we've done our one for the year, but we have to do another one come January. So I just wanted to state that, that's all. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Member DiZoglio?
So, from when we talked about, when I brought forth the policy, the idea was, 1, it would be public, and 2, it'd be kind of like a special meeting, like charting the course. Because I feel like that meeting shouldn't be rushed. It's a training. When we go to training, especially like a PD or something, we wish it was only 30 minutes. But usually it goes for like an hour and a half. So, and for people to be able to come in or just watch it at home, I feel like they'll actually learn about what we actually do here. So if they ever want to run for public office, they're basically sitting there getting the training themselves. So that's how my head wanted to design it, was for that to happen. So, thank you.
Thank you, Member DiZoglio. Any other discussion? If not, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is regarding the administrative job descriptions. Superintendent, feel free to hop in.
This is not my topic. I think the school committee agreed to have this on the, or Member Maxwell can lead the conversation.
Member Maxwell?
So I asked for this to be a special meeting, and apparently, that one was, it was denied. I requested this because there appears to be an increasing concern regarding confusion and overlapping in responsibilities, which affects operations and communications. I have some concerns regarding the job. What sparked this conversation for me is when I looked back, I couldn't find a time when the job titles were changed from, for instance, like business, like Ian's business administrator when he went to the assistant superintendent of teaching. I'm sorry. The assistant superintendent of
Finance and Operations.
Finance and Operations. So that was kind of what sparked the topic for me. And then I had requested everyone's contract and job descriptions, and the job descriptions and the contracts just don't match what's actually being done with the roles. I have some discussion topics that I'd like to discuss, but that was pretty much why I requested it. That's.
What's the description? Because I'm curious.
So I can go, okay. I didn't know if I could continue as the discussion, okay. I asked for the job descriptions because I received all the contracts, and in the contracts, it says that Appendix A is attached. Appendix A is the job description. I had all the contracts and all the job descriptions except the Director of Facilities and the superintendents. The Director of Facilities does not have a job description attached to his contract, and they checked with HR for that, and they don't have it, and they're not sure that there ever was one. The Director of Facilities, the contract says that it ensures all school and city buildings are properly staffed, including supplied, managed, and otherwise supervised. The director is responsible for all phases of the operation of administration and school facilities, including building and grounds, under the supervision of Methuen School Committee and Methuen City Council. The Director of Finance, there was no contract or job description provided. The Director of Student Services. Director of Student Services, the duties said that the assistant to assist the superintendent in managing special education guidance and healthcare programs, recommend improvements. The job description itself, Appendix A, lists a bunch of duties that the superintendent of student services actually does not perform. Specifically, the ones that I had a specific concern with were number 2, they prepare and ensure the accuracy of all state, federal, and local reports. I've asked for the state and local reports in the district, and it's been 4 months of me waiting for the response for that. Interpret appropriate statutes in court cases, I also asked for that. We have an out-of-district administrator, so I'm not sure why the placement of students out of district settings and the supervision of the evaluation team would be in that role. We also have a district director of special ed. So a lot of these job responsibilities fall, I guess, within different people. So I just think that all of that needs to kind of come back together so that everyone's doing the job that they were hired to do and everyone's doing the job that they have a contract for. The concern I had with the assistant superintendent of curriculum, instruction, and assessment and grants contract, and is that now it's the assistant superintendent of teaching and teaching and learning. But The biggest problem I had with it is state law delegates hiring to the school committee upon recommendation from the superintendent for assistant superintendent, special ed administrators, school business administrators, and legal counsel. That's Chapter 71, Section 59. When those titles were changed over, I can go back to August 14th in 2023, and it looks like back then they still held their titles of the directors of positions. So I don't know when they were switched over to the assistant superintendents and who approved that.
It was during the budget cycle, and the entire school committee approved it.
During this last one?
I'd
Or
have
the
to
one that
look
I
at the
wasn't
actual,
on.
but it was a preceding Dr. Golowski. It was a full presentation of repurposing and reorganizing, thank you. And it was approved by the entire school committee.
So I couldn't find that one, which is fine. The only
was in the budget
meeting
book.
that I could find was the handbook approval of August 14th in 2023, when we changed their titles in the handbook. But other than that, I mean, the only concern I have with it is that the titles don't match the contracts, and the contracts don't match the job descriptions. So that's an issue for me. So that's all I have to.
I would like to just make one comment, because, I mean, the contract part of it, everything should be current. So I would question that, because I gave you their current contracts, which means it's their current titles. But I'll double check that. I would also say that
I have all of them, if you need them.
that part of this, we're all doing 18,000 jobs. So there are job descriptions that not everybody, we don't have people under. You just said something about director of special education. That's not in our budget. That's not a filled position. So the only person who can do that job is Gina Bozak. So she is doing that work, because there's nobody in that position right now.
Nobody's in the out-of-district placement position?
There's somebody in the out-of-district placement position, but there's nobody in the director of special education.
Okay.
So I think all of those things have culminated during the budget cycle. If you look back on the budget books, that is where you will see the conversation about the job title changes, the reorganization, and the approval of at least the questions that you're asked here. And all of the people that have been appointed, we have followed that to a T. When Dr. Golowski was appointed, I recommended that to the school committee. They approved her employment.
That one was one of the ones that were approved. But again, the contract is different from, the contract's different. And also, I mean, I know that we've had some confusion on the director of not finance and operations, director of facilities. Some papers say that, that's Bruce, and some papers say that that's Ian. So we also have a job description here for the grants and procurement specialist, but a lot of that is in the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning's job description. So, and that also said that it reports to the assistant superintendent of finance and operations. And back when that was created, we didn't have an assistant superintendent of finance and operations. We had a director of business administrator. So,
No, that's not true either. We changed that position in the budget process.
okay.
And
I mean,
combine
I've gone
grants and
back to watch
procurement.
all of these meetings and go through the meeting minutes, but
I just think it's the
point
budget
being
books,
is that-
Member Maxwell. A lot of that has been done during the reorganization, during the budget process, and the information is in the budget conversations and the presentations we had with school committee, and the approvals of those positions and title changes happened during that process. So there's not like a special meeting for that. We haven't had any like special meetings to do title changes or.
That's fine.
that
I'm not
happened.
saying that the title changes are wrong. I'm saying that the job descriptions don't match the contracts. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I don't know if, the contracts need to be gone through, and maybe we need to look into those further to change the job descriptions or their jobs and duties, but a lot of them are crossed over to different positions in the district.
Member Maxwell, we can circle back for a second
Okay.
now. Do we have another comment from Member DiZoglio?
So to piggyback off Member Maxwell, I think a lot, like the titles, I remember we did that during a budget we kind of mixed it all in all at once type of thing, so I remember that. But when it comes to job descriptions, especially facilities director, and especially with everything going on when he says he's responsible of making sure people are in the building, is that what, one of his job descriptions you said? All right, so since then, Ian's taken on that role.
Correct.
All right, like that to me, then the person that, again, at the end of the day, Ian's the facilities director. That's all I look at now. The person that's in that role, he's a maintenance. He's maintenance. That's all. He's a maintenance director. He's not, and that's all he does. Okay, he wasn't making sure that custodians. I know right after the week that we changed the head custodian at the Tenny, the new head custodian was the only one there, and he didn't have any staff members. The facilities director, according to his job description, was to make sure people are in that building. Wasn't there. Also, when it comes to health and safety meetings you guys have, if I'm correct, health and safety, he's not there. Ian is. So at the end of the day, Ian's taking on that role. And he's 5 different positions. I don't know how you do it all day, Ian. God bless you. But that's how we look at where you're put onto a contract. You are to fulfill those job descriptions, those duties. And I don't care if you're fixing one thing or not. That's your job. If you can't do that job, then find someone else that can. You could be a maintenance manager. You're not the facilities director. That's what's frustrating with me. I'm a teacher. I'm obligated to teach. That's my job. I also got to make sure IEPs are done. Well, looked at. I got to go to meetings for IEPs. I have all these standards, and I have to set my own goals in the next week, what I'm going to do for the year. If I miss those goals, I get it unsatisfactory. Okay? I'm held accountable for my job description, my duties, my goals. And you could say, well, they're doing 1,000 things. I get it. Trust me, if I could give you money to fix a different role, I would do that. But that's your job. Your job is to run the district. You can't say to me, and I know you do everything in your power to do everything in this district. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. Same thing with DJ. He's in charge of the city. At the end of the day, he's in charge of the city. If something goes wrong, unfortunately, even if it goes right, someone's going to pick both of you and pick out what you did wrong. Okay, that's just the fact of the role that you choose to pick. So, like, I just think at the end of the day, I just feel like when you take on a job, that's your job. If you can't do the job, let us know. At least be honest and say, I need help. All right? I just said it to my principal today. I got 38 IEPs, students. Okay? I go, I need help figuring this out, of organizing it so I can do my classroom. All right? I got help. It's not that hard. I'm sorry. And I know people are going to tell me, well, you know, it's no excuses. I don't care. So that's where I'm kind of mixed on with the job descriptions and duties. That's with one position. Other than that, I understand maybe we need a fix, but I know Ian's taking on 5 different roles, so his contract's going to be different. Gina Bozak is also taking on 5 different roles now, so her contract. But we should be updating those contracts and descriptions, so when we look them up, we also know the reasons why behind that. I don't know if you can do that, saying like, Gina's taking on the director of special ed because we don't have a position, or budgetary concerns, or whatever. So then when people do look up their contract, they go, oh, well, next budget cycle, let's try to relieve some of that stress off of Gina or Ian, so we know that they're doing more than what their contract is asking for. That's all. Thank you.
Right on the dot.
Just real quick, Member DeZoglio, for yourself, it has been 6 budgets, and for me, it has been 2. But that podium has been blessed by countless folks who have been asking for help. They have been asking for help. They have said, school committee, help me. We need reading specialists. We need custodians. We need teachers. We need this. We need that. We need this. And we got nothing. So the whole ask for help mentality, the whole you're not Bill Belichick. The whole do your job mentality only goes so far. In essence, I agree with you. But the reality is, you said it. You said it 3 times in your last piece. He's doing 5 jobs. She's doing 5 jobs. She's doing God knows what, 37 million, and everyone else is doing a billion things. How do you manage that? His contract is not going to say all the things he's supposed to do. When I worked for DCF many years ago, I got yelled at one day because I hung a corkboard in my office. But because I was not part of that union, I was not allowed to hang my corkboard. So I got my hand slapped. You have to do and play by all of these special rules. They're all out there doing a million things that they are never going to get credit for, but they are going to get blamed for everything. If a DPW guy is out driving tomorrow and stops at Heavenly for a coffee and bumps the car in front of him, someone's going to be mad at DJ. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that happen, and he's going to get angry phone calls. A kid falls off the swing set or the monkey bars Wednesday morning at recess, Dr. Kwong's going to get the phone call, and it's going to be her fault that kid fell off the monkey bars. It's to ask for help. They've been asking for help, and we as a city, not we, this body, not DeZoglio and Maxwell and Shabilia and us, not us. We as a city have failed because we don't have the money to fund our schools, to give the city what it needs, because we are short-staffed. And you, of all people, know that our custodial department is woefully underdeveloped. So to point fingers and blame things, yes, there is plenty of blame to go around. No argument against that. But when you have 5 people doing the work of 10, saying do your job and ask for help, when we're the people that ask for help and we haven't been able to offer it, you for 6 cycles and me now for 2, there's a bigger problem. And it's not going to get fixed by changing paper. It's not going to get fixed by words on paper. We have to solve our fiscal issues so we can bring in bodies, so we can have a director of outsourced placements?
No, that's still the director of special ed.
Special ed, director of special ed, and all these other positions. We have to have money to do these things, because saying help me, we're gonna throw them a pizza party. Like, did you get my point? Like, I'm not trying to be snarky, but it's just like, that's the corporate mentality. But like, yeah, go ahead.
We're still on the first round, so we can circle back. Yep. Vice Chair?
So a couple things. The out-of-district coordinator is the person that runs the IEP meetings for the out-of-district placements. They do not place people, so it is well in Gina's role to be making the financial decision to send a student out, and it's a team decision in the buildings before the out-of-district placement person gets them. So the job descriptions that were read for, that has nothing to do with an out-of-district placement person. Second, when I spoke with Alicia at MASC, she was pretty clear that the only time the school committee gets involved in the job descriptions is when there's a change in the job, and that we will vote on if there's a change of title, substantial changes. Otherwise, the only job descriptions that we have any say over are the people that we hire. So, like the director of facilities, if there's no job description there, unless that title change gets changed, that job description doesn't come to the school committee, and it's not within our purview. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Member Willett?
I'm just like abundantly concerned that if we look at one school and someone doesn't have the capacity to do a reallocation of manpower, then we're having a serious bottleneck issue. So if the Tenny, and I mentioned it during prior meeting, if they're seriously depleted at the Tenny, and we're not marshaling our resources and on call from other schools and doing overtime, and you're thrusting it upon a limited staff at the Tenny, right, that's automatically setting up for failure. So, again, I appreciate what Ian does, and he's always communicated to me. And I've had, obviously, my disagreements with the administration. They've been pretty responsive to me, but, I mean, that's something that has to be corrected within the system. Like, if you have sick leave, which people are entitled to, people are on medical leave, bereavement leave, they're on vacation, right? And if you have two guys at one school, right, you're having a disaster that's gonna emerge. So again, like, if you're not reallocating the manpower, someone in the upper echelons has to be directing that. And again, if you have like all these deficiencies and you came into a situation with all the deficiencies across the district that were like decades in the making, and we're cleaning up the mess, and I've commended you for that. And I commend the Health and Safety Task Force, and we've been transparent. We've had state inspectors, we've had the city inspectors. You've improved the inspector's office, okay? We've done major infrastructure improvements. The city council, to the benefit, has approved every single emergency proposal of funding for this school district. But ultimately, something as basic of, okay, you only have two guys or whatever amount on a certain shift, and you don't have the manpower, and that's a cry for help at a certain school, and then it manifests with major problems. Again, it's not a manpower issue, it's how you allocate those resources. So again, we're doing electronic ticketing now. You should be involved in that. You should automatically get those reports. Click it, fix it, that's automatic. You're the leader or the CEO of the city. The superintendent, I know, is gonna be more involved in those reports. Ian, again, has always communicated to me, even on the weekends. So he's been very responsive. So what my colleagues are saying, I can concur with, because we have limited resources. We had a saving grace of emergency funding from the state at the last second that helped us with the circuit breaker. The twin pillars of the healthcare, municipal healthcare costs have exploded. The circuit breaker for special education, that's exploded. That has nothing to do with the operations of the school system. That's the state that needs to help us. And we've gone over the limited resources at the local level. They have far greater resources at the state level, and they have to make sure at the local level we're receiving enough resources via Chapter 70 and the circuit breaker. So we've said the same things over during prior meetings. And again, this is all healthy because we have to constantly improve the system and move that train along. But I don't want to have, like, in November, another school saying, oh, we were depleted with custodians, right? I'm going to bang my head against the wall. That's, the upper echelon has to correct that. Either you have on-call, emergency overtime, reallocation of staff, right? That, you would be the same thing. If you had a massive pothole on a road, you can't say to, well, you know what, get back to us next week, you know, or if there's a water main break, and say, well, that guy's on vacation, you know, well, get back to us? No, you automatically, emergency situation, we have to maintain that same mentality for the school system, and there's complacency there, and I don't know who to entirely blame, and I think we do have to revisit consolidation and schematic and restructuring. Those are ongoing conversations, but the Tenny was just a glaring example that we're still failing as a system. Thank you.
Can we do a quick point of clarification with Ian? Can you just explain the shorting and how we're covering and where we go? And I know you had mentioned it at the last meeting.
Yeah, we don't have tons of extras at the other buildings. Remember, we had about 4 people on second shift. 1 or 2 of them take a vacation day. We're down to 2 people. If that happens in multiple schools, I don't know where I'm getting people. So I have told the seniors a million times, I've never said no to overtime if they need it. If you're a first shift guy and you need somebody to work an extra 4 hours on second shift, have them work an extra 4 hours, get done what has to get done. I've approved overtime on weekends, nights. We've even gone as far as to call back retired custodians, 4 hours at a time, whatever we need, whatever they need. So there's people, sometimes there's not enough people. So I do know he was by himself one day, but, 3 guys take a vacation day, and they do that at every school. I can't create, So we have been, I've been around to the schools, and we're using the guys who are retired, former custodians. They're doing plenty of overtime to the point where I'm starting to get nervous about that. But I'm not gonna tell them, don't get the schools ready. So it's a catch-22.
Please be ready for Wednesday.
What's that?
Please be ready for Wednesday.
Oh, we're ready. I think we're in a great shape right now. So there is that. But again, we don't have 8 people at the Marsh and 1 person at the Tenny. So we got 3 people at the Marsh. I take 2 of them and put them at the Tenny. Now I got 1 person at the Marsh. So, it's whack-a-mole sometimes. When we're fully staffed, we just hired a new guy. He started, 3 weeks ago. He resigned on Friday. Just doesn't want to do it. So now we have to start the whole hiring process again. I went through a whole hiring process with 2 gentlemen, maybe about 3 weeks ago. Complete gentlemen, can totally do the job. I moved them forward. They decided not to do the paperwork. We're back to square one. We have a couple more people coming in for interviews next week. We're filling the positions as fast as we can. We added an additional position at the Tenny and the Timony, so that they'll have 5 people on second shift, which should help. We just have to make sure we staff them. I believe the Timony is completely staffed at this point. The Tenny was that one location where somebody just resigned, and, we just got a retirement. So we are doing the best we can, Ryan. It's just not perfect.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that the narrative that Member Willett was just speaking about, that we're not shorting, we're not moving people around, we're not approving overtime. So we're doing all of those things. It's just, you can't move chess pieces around on a board when there are no pieces.
Right, and when that instance did happen, there were some schools that had staff coming in on first shift, so they seemed to have a little bit more numbers, and we did move staff over to the Tenny when he had people out. So, they didn't like that so much, but we did what we had to do, and the building got done. So we do it as much as we absolutely can. Never do we want to leave somebody alone in the building.
I'm going to quickly speak as part of the first round. I'm going to start the timer. I agree with much of what we've talked about, especially along the lines of the idea of building a more sustainable framework. We're not there yet, but that's something that is certainly in progress. And I know there are additional conversations to be had about opportunities for whether it's consolidation, things like that. And I know as we go forward over the next couple of meetings, I'd like to, as part of the task force, begin to develop a definitive framework that outlines exactly how, say, DPW assistance with facilities would work, so that we can have something that is actually laid out as a framework going forward. I do want to mention something. I think this is a good opportunity to say it. So today, I and others had the opportunity to join the administrative team with the district for walkthroughs of each of the school buildings, the 4 K through 8s and the high school, for a opportunity to take a look at where things are at ahead of opening day on Wednesday. And I want to mention, especially at the Timony and Tenny, I know that those 2 schools have been really the focus of a lot of ire as it relates to facilities issues, and the head custodians and the custodial teams at those two schools, at every school really, but I know those two schools have been flagged in recent months. Those folks over there are magicians. The Tenny, for instance, 6 weeks ago, was in dire straits. Today, it was stunning to see the state of the school as they prepare for opening day on Wednesday. I was extremely impressed. There are areas, for instance, as it relates to pest exclusion. We were in there with Darren, the health inspector, today, going through and identifying some additional holes to plug, et cetera. But they've come such a long way from where they were just a couple of weeks ago. The Timony is in probably the best shape I've seen it since I attended the Timony from 5th through 8th grade. We've made a lot of progress. Now, the key, of course, is sustainability, keeping that going. The colder months are coming, and so I have concerns about, the issues we'll face at that point. But our custodians in this district have been bombarded with negative PR, with a lot of concerns, to put it lightly, directed their way. And I just want to acknowledge our custodians in this district at every school and thank them for the work that they're doing right now, and just express that gratitude, because I don't think they hear it enough. They certainly haven't heard it enough from me, and so I just wanted to state that in a public setting. So to any custodians who are watching or will hear about this later, thank you. We'll now move on to the second round for this discussion. Do we have any other discussion? Member Maxwell.
So I just want to finish this segment with, I know that, I don't want this to be misunderstood as me saying that people aren't doing their job. I'm saying that people are being tasked with jobs that are not theirs. And I feel like that's forcing people out of the district and making them not want to work for this district. So I think that we need to go through job descriptions and job duties to make sure that the people in those positions are actually doing the jobs that they're required to do. I'm not saying that no one's not doing their job. I'm just saying that there's too much put on certain people, and they're getting, multiple job titles, and that's not fair. And that's where I'm going with this. That's my concern. My other concern is that I want to make sure that what we're paying is matching what their contracts say, because I know that in 2024, we paid more than what a lot of these contracts say. And just, I just want to say that, I feel bad for Ian, because I feel like there are.
Do not feel bad for me. Okay.
I feel like you get a lot of heat.
I'm just one of many.
I understand.
Everyone's doing more than their fair share. It's not.
Absolutely. But my concern is that, so if you're the director of finance and operations, but you're also assuming the role, and I'm only using you as an example because you wear so many hats. If you're assuming that role of director of facilities, it's concerning to me, because if we need to hold someone accountable, who are we holding accountable? Are we holding the director of facilities accountable, or are we holding the director of finance and operations accountable?
I would say the buck stops with me. Prior to me, there was a director of IT and facilities, and he oversaw facilities. And then he left the district, it got shifted over to me. So if you're gonna put the blame on anyone, I would say you put it on me.
Yeah, I want to make sure that the contract and the job duties match. That was my only concern in bringing any of this forward. And just for, I'm told a lot that there are things that I talk about that are not within my purview, which I find, it's hard for me to swallow that, because transparency and accountability are very much within the purview of the school committee. And if decisions are being made and actions are being taken that affect our students and faculty or fiscal responsibility, we not only have the right to ask, but we have the obligation to ask. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not you know, I'm not in my purview for asking these questions. It's well within my purview. And I just want to make sure that everyone is safe and comfortable. And by safe, I mean you're not overburdened. And if you're overburdened, you become overwhelmed. And let's be real, that goes home with you. That takes a toll on your mental well-being. We need to make sure our staff is healthy, safe, and doing the jobs that they're required to do so that we can keep them and maintain them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Maxwell. Second round, Member Shabilia.
I agree with you. You're not wrong. People are overwhelmed and they're burdened. It's no difference whether you're a school employee or, I don't know, you work at JG's. If you're the only one back there scooping ice cream on Saturday night, you burn out. But again, it's a much bigger problem than this one conversation. And I don't think fixing job descriptions is going to save that, because the reality is what it's going to do is it's going to make Ian's job description 211 pages, because we're not going to be able to shuffle that stuff to somebody else. We're going to have to just document it. Or not we, you are going to have to document it. So all of these things that he has to go out there and do, because we don't have the other people that would be out there doing things, are now in one job description. Is it lightening the load? Is it making people happier and healthier and safer? No. Should it? 1,000%. That should be our goal as a district, and I think it is. But we were a little short on cash this year, and we were almost a lot short on cash until the 1 yard line there. So, like, I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I think that in due time, job descriptions become a great tool. And I know every company struggles with them, and we're no different. But I want to make sure that we're acknowledging the fact that rewriting these things is not going to change what people do. It's just going to make documenting already overburdened people formally overburdened. That's just the reality of it. As much as I would love to take 30 things off your plate so you could actually focus on, I don't know, finance and operations and not buses, like, it's
I was gonna say
just,
probably transportation today, but
I would never take transportation away from you. I think it's probably your favorite thing. But
Believe it or not, I enjoyed it today.
I don't believe you, even a little bit. But I mean, you get my point. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Member DiZoglio?
Just to piggyback off of everybody, and especially, the fact is, I understand that many people are doing their job, but especially, I've been through 6 cycles. I will tell you, for what happened last year, was never brought to our attention. And the reason why that is, and I'll keep saying it, the health inspection reports that we got previously before Heidi and Darren came, it was called perfect facilities. So when everybody talks about that we knew about the mice problem, we really didn't, because we were getting health inspection reports that said perfect facilities. All right? And then, on top of it, where you have people not writing in the book, or principals, or anybody in head custodians not even knowing what the book it was about. So when Pestins came in and looked at the book and said, oh, I obviously don't need to do anything today because that's the process, all right? How can you say that people came and asked for help when they weren't even doing the process? That's all I'm going to say. And then when you're getting health inspection reports, I know for a fact the superintendent weren't getting any health inspection reports previously. And I know that for a fact. All right? There was only a few people, even when we got the bad health inspection report, now it would be last May? It's last May. She never received it. She didn't get the inspection report, not even the September 16th one, until it finally hit everybody. So I feel like, and Ian and Dr. Kwong, I've never put burden on both of you in this case, because I know. I know people below you weren't telling you that help. They never came to the podium and asked for help. I know that for a fact. And when finally, because they were getting good health inspection reports, and then when they were told they weren't doing well, they never told until finally someone decided to just put everybody on an email. That's a fact. And then that's when the plans were put in place, and then the September 16th health inspection report came out. But then unfortunately, Mayor Perry passed away and all these things, and DJ had to take that role on. That's a fact. So, and then since then, when you have head custodians, I feel like, yes, one person might be doing 5 different things, but it doesn't need to be that way. That's why you hire head custodians. That's why you have another manager. That's why you do. And then you have the principals be liable for their buildings, saying, hey, to the head custodian, can you call Ian? Or have the principal call the head, Ian. And if you can't get a hold of Ian, try and call another school for help. In the end, and again, you can't put bodies if they're all on vacation. I totally understand that. All right, but I just feel like there's a process could be in place where, okay, hey, we're gonna have 3 guys out in 2 weeks. So we need something, we need to cover those buildings. Maybe we could call the DPW, or maybe we could call the mayor, so we're not blindsided in those 2 weeks later, hey, we're shorthanded. Now, again, I know maybe you had coverage and then someone maybe called out sick, but that's when you call another school. Or maybe you call someone that's off and saying, hey, can you come in, we'll give you the extra overtime. And I get it, some people will say no. Listen, I wish in a perfect world those things, but I feel like a process, especially the vacation stuff, you know they're coming. That to me is who's in charge of that, to knowing about vacations so they can say, hey, is there any way we can get coverage? Or so then that one guy isn't then sitting at the school and going, I'm by myself. We knew this 2 weeks ago. I don't know how the vacations work. Like I'm hoping it's 2 weeks in advance. Is that, Ian, is that how they do it? Yeah.
Not always. But we do, here's some good news. Let's try to focus on the good news, okay? We've had an antiquated system for vacations, personal days. It's always been paper. Everyone signs off, everyone approves. By the time it gets to where it needs to be, everyone forgets who's out. All gone electronic, effective this week, so that we can look and see which custodians are out and when they're out in advance. So that might help with the situation, being able to keep track a little better on who's where and when. So that just went into effect, I don't know if it was today, Friday? Emma, I was just looking at it, actually. So, yeah, it's incredible, and it will tie right into payroll, et cetera, and keep track of all their hours, et cetera. So we just instituted, I'm not taking credit for that. That would Colleen and the IT department just instituted that today. So let's end on a good note.
All right, perfect.
All righty. If there's no other discussion, we'll move on. So on the agenda, we have, the next section is finance and operations. 2 quick notes. First, the fiscal year 25 end-of-year final reports will be presented on September 8th. Also, the fiscal year 25 monthly reports will begin at the September 8th, 2025 meeting. We'll move on to contract awards. We need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Just to read into the record, the fiscal year 25-26 Massachusetts School Buying Group paper products contract. We have the motion from Member Shabilia. The second is from the Vice Chair. Discussion. Member Shabilia?
Real quick. I know that this is through the Mass School Buying Group. When was the last time we price checked this stuff against like the blanket and combis?
We always do, and they do as well.
Oh, they do, all right.
Yeah, it's 72 communities making up 400 schools, so we get a.
You're out buying?
Yeah.
This, okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
And all of these are food service, for the record. I don't know if that was clear.
Any other discussion? Not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We need a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 25-26 Massachusetts School buying group, excuse me, this is regarding, I'm just reading off the agenda. Sanitation and warewashing products and service for schools contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Member Shibeli, the second is from the Vice Chair. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is the fresh bread contract for fiscal year 25. 26, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motions from Member Shabilia, seconds from the Vice Chair. Discussion? Member Maxwell?
I'm going to vote, I'm just going to say it during this part, but I'm going to vote present on these, and on, if I'm being completely honest, it's because I didn't click the links in the agenda. I think I spoke to Martha about that last time, but I forgot to ask for a printout of everything, so I'm just going to vote present, but it has nothing to do with whether I agree or disagree. I just, I'm not informed enough to make that vote.
Thank you, Member Maxwell. Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is the groceries contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Member Shabilia. The second is from Member DiZoglio. Discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll record Member Maxwell as present. Same for the prior. Excuse me.
I just have a quick question. Is Member Maxwell, are you present on every one of these votes? Okay, thank you.
Next, we have the fresh pizza contract. Motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Member Shabilia. The second is from the Vice Chair. Discussion? Member DiZoglio?
Quick question. How fresh is this pizza? Because,
Honestly, you're not going to get any fresher. It comes uncooked.
okay.
It comes in pans, uncooked. We refuse to take a product from anybody that's partially cooked or already cooked. We come in, we put it in the ovens ourselves. It's about as fresh as you get.
Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Member Maxwell present. We need a motion and a second now to approve the dairy contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Member Shabilia. The second is from the Vice Chair. Discussion?
Okay.
Member DiZoglio?
So a parent asked me the other day, and I laugh about it all the time. Are we ever gonna get chocolate milk, or do we have chocolate milk?
As far as I know, we have chocolate milk.
Yeah,
My son
someone
drinks it
said
every
that their
day.
kid didn't get chocolate milk, and I go, I thought you guys had chocolate milk.
We have chocolate milk.
Okay, so the kid's lying to the parent? Okay. All right. I was at the grocery store, and a parent goes, you know, we don't even have chocolate milk in our schools anymore, and I go,
They go to
Sure.
Methuen schools?
okay.
I don't think you do.
No? Yes. You do?
My son drinks it every day.
All right, I know at my school we don't, but I was like, and then this parent was telling me, like, yeah, my kid doesn't get chocolate milk anymore, and I go, I think we do. But, okay.
Well, we're very grateful for chocolate milk.
Yeah, well, listen,
Any other-
listen, parent asked me, and I said dairy, and that's just how it reminded me. So I just wanted to ask that question. I'm here for my constituents.
Thank you, Member DiZoglio. Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Member Maxwell
I voted for everybody.
present.
Did you know else?
We need a motion and a second now to approve the fiscal year 26 grant awards.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is from Member Shabilia. The second is from the Vice Chair. Discussion?
So this is new. So we want to present this to you, I think, part of our policy subcommittee. Two of the things that have come out that we're going to just activate now, because it is part of what we should be doing, is approving the award. So these are the current awards for FY '26. So in the past, which we talked to Alicia, who's part of our team, I had asked, I think probably 10, 15 years ago when I was assistant superintendent, the monthly report that we were given was sort of the information to school committee, which is great. except she did indicate that that should be added with an approval of the use, not the use of the funds, but the actual award received. So this is what we've decided to do. So Dr. Golubsky will add, these are the grants to date and the actual amounts of entitlement grants and any competitive grants we received. I think the one that we were, this was updated from the last packet. We were incredibly pleased to receive the literacy award, very competitive PRISM grant from the state, and so we didn't have that official. That was all being sort of held. We thought we would know at the end of June. We didn't. We still didn't know last meeting, but it was released last week. So we are thrilled to have that. That will help offset the cost of our CKLA reading program and some of the professional development. So we're really thrilled for those funds to be able to help us and the work that we're doing. So all of the grants are listed here, competitive on the bottom, entitlements on the top. So we're really just looking for, and I really don't know, I didn't ask Alicia a level of specificity, but if it's one motion to accept all current grant awards at this time, kind of a motion seems appropriate. And then as we have any new grants, this same type of memo would be on top of our monthly grant report. So you can actually see the expenditures still, because I think that is still important for the school committee to see what we were awarded, what we've encumbered, what we've spent. So that report will remain, but then anything that is new or awards that we receive, we would need them to be approved to receive those awards. So just a little bit of a change. And the second change, which you'll see on the September 8th, is that the school committee needs to recognize publicly the warrants. So we will have those added to the September 8th meeting starting July 1st, and we'll move forward doing those at every monthly business meeting. So we'll explain that a little bit more.
Thank you. Member Shabilia?
So this is not new money. This is money we've already accounted for in our
Well,
budget.
yes, so the new money the new big money for us is definitely the PRISM grant, right? Like, we didn't account for that in our funding. We thought that that would be able to be used to take the place of our financing for our CKLA, but the timing didn't work. But it will help offset that cost, so it will help do the payments. So between Dr. Golubsky and Ian Goslin's office, they're going to work out how to help that money, use those funds to help support. That was one of the big purposes behind receiving that grant, is being able to purchase good literacy programs. So again, we're thrilled. We were hoping to have that, then we would have offset that cost in the actual operating budget, but it will offset it, which is great for us. So new money as far as like anything else that can be accounted for in the operating budget, no.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have other personnel matters. We need a motion and a second to approve the request regarding the one-to-one program assistance.
So moved. Second.
Motion's from Member Shabilia. The second is from Member DiZoglio. Discussion?
We've done this every year as we need them. These are program assistant positions that were needed as the summer is here. So they were not part of our budget cycle and approval. So this is, I don't think this will be the last time, but because it was also we needed these prior to August 20th by contract, they are full new positions for us. After a certain point, they become substitute positions and not new positions in the budget until we go through the next budget cycle. Sorry, I didn't explain that well. But these are full year positions at this point that we're trying to fill.
Vice Chair?
Of course, I'm going to vote yes on this. However, how many program assistants are we short already, and how do you plan to fill them?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand we need to approve the positions, but realistically, how are we getting people in these positions?
So we're still pushing through new staffing. Realistically, we're using less contracted service providers. Like, we're only working with 1 or 2 organizations instead of 6 that we did last year. So we are prioritizing both Ms. Bozak and Colleen McCarthy have been going through lists almost on a daily basis. We have some folks from one of the contracted service providers already ready to start. They don't have to go through the hiring process again. They were with us at the end of last year, did ESY with us. So they're prioritizing, and honestly, the one-to-ones for us are priority, and classrooms that don't have any staff support. So that's where we're putting folks first. And then each SEA in each building is looking at what is left. And then we have a system, which I think I explained last time, but if I didn't, I'll explain it now. But we're looking at what is the operating budget amount that we have approved for these positions that are unfilled. And that is what we're working within to say to Precision, let's say, or one of the contracted service providers, we have this amount, our highest priority are X, Y, and Z. Can you get us those? So we're not gonna have the amount of money in the operating budget to offset it perfectly, but this is a daily task, multiple times. This is all Gina, Colleen, Rebecca, the EEC, we have high school programming. I mean, this is all we're doing right now, is making sure that our staffing is supported. Not easy, but we're doing the best we can. Yeah.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We're going to move on to updates from the committee. First up is the audit. On deck to provide this update is members Donovan and Shabelia, just to guide the conversation. There had been some misconceptions floating out there that have been expressed at the last meeting. I just want to clarify them for the public. There was a concern expressed regarding the length of time that has elapsed regarding the audit process and the release of the report, et cetera. Just to point out, so that folks are on the same page, originally, under Mayor Perry's administration, there was originally the thought to put forward the audit RFP as one package, organizational and cultural audit on one side and financial audit on the other side, and the city got precisely 0 responses to that request for bids. Now, shortly thereafter, Mayor Perry passed away on September 21st of 2024. And at that point, we entered a phase where between September and the special election in December, there was really no definitive, I guess, understanding of exactly where we would be post-December, given the fact that there was a snap election 2 weeks before Christmas. And so with that, we didn't proceed with something so definitive as beginning that audit process, again, going back out until after that special election. I think I tried to be clear about that at the time, but I don't know if the message got across. So then, fast forward to the turn of the new year, we were able to secure the services of CBIZ and begin the audit process. So if there's anyone out there who's questioning the timeline, you know, if we look back at recent events in our city, it's something that I don't think there's any way around the current timeline that we've been dealing with now. With that being said, we are, as was referenced at one point, probably the 1 yard line as it relates to this process, and so I expect that we will have a public rollout in short order. But with that, just to guide that conversation, I'll invite members Donovan and Shabelia to share any further updates.
Almost there. I think the most exciting thing for me is the folks at CBIZ have agreed, free of charge, to roll out the survey again next year. So this year we have the benchmark. They come back and send out the same questions as you would do for any kind of assessment, or and so we could get a real measure of where the growth is. And I think that's really big news. So this year we get the benchmark, we see what kind of changes are made, whatever, everyone working together. And I think that's the kind of data that is so important. So I was delighted they agreed to do that free of charge. There's a whole lot of data floating out there.
So I know that I've gotten a bunch of messages from folks throughout the district and people at this table asking me where it is and what's going on. So I guess just to kind of gap fill from where the mayor left off to where we are today, probably give or take maybe a little bit more than a month ago now, CBIZ came to us and presented the data that they extracted from the survey, their interviews, and everything else that they've done. We went through it. The data tells an interesting story. I think some of it positive, some of it telling us what many of us may already have known. However, I think it puts a spotlight on where we need to focus and where we're excelling, which I think is exactly what we were looking for in this particular tool. So they went back and put together the narrative to go with the data. Their first pass at the narrative was very consulting-y. They didn't really come out and say anything. It was all, it's all those words that they kind of beat around the bush and don't actually come out and tell you what they're saying, and they don't really come out and give you what's the problem and what they suggest as a solution. So I think collectively as a body, we said, guys, do better, go back and fix it. You have all of this data, you have all of this information, you can identify problems, you can identify our highlights. Tell us what they are, tell us what you recommend.
Actionable steps.
Give us action, give us what you suggest based on your training experience and expertise and what you're seeing in the field and all this stuff. So we sent them back marching, and that's what we are waiting for now. We are waiting for them to come back with the recalibrated report that is going to give us clear, actionable advice, and then they will come to.
So what we're going to do is, the audit was, of course, initiated by the city using city funding, approved by the city council. So we're going to have a rollout rather than having multiple rollouts of it. We're going to have one rollout, and we'll have a joint city council school committee meeting so that
All right.
all of this information can be shared with the public in one, using the word shared a lot, in one shared setting, so to speak, between the two bodies.
Can we do that here? Because our equipment works. All right. So that catches us up. There you go. Thank you.
Questions, Member Maxwell?
Do we have a time frame?
I would love to tell you 2 weeks ago, but I know Member Donovan has sent them an email a week. I have sent them an email a week.
I think we had, and in all fairness to them, our contact person was out on vacation.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had this vacation stuff going on, but hopefully we'll be back on track.
But, I mean, we also need to keep in mind that they've got the thousands of pages of data that they needed to recalibrate. So I would rather wait an extra 2 weeks and get every dime out of this document than rush something that is going to be less than perfect.
Any other questions? No?
Can I just add, I think, we're leaving out some important people in this process. I will be very curious to see what our school staff wants to do with this information, because it is good information. How to respond to this, I think, is some teachers would be really interested, because it's not just about what goes on at the central office. It's about relationships, which are very hard to assess between students and teachers and administrators. So I think it'll be very helpful. Anytime you ask bold questions about data, you run the risk of stepping into a big hole or moving on to something great. So I'll be really curious, and I think we'll have some thoughtful discussions on how we will use this information on the school side. In my wildest dreams, because it was a pretty positive experience, wouldn't it be great to see this going on the school side? Especially, and I'm harping on it, the benchmark piece. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What kind of progress, what kind of changes we can make? I would love to see this as a whole municipal process. But it's a lot of money. And you're right, Member Shabilia, we did send them back and say, this was too airy. There were some words, like, what does that mean? So I'm glad we did that. Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Any questions? If not, we'll move on to now, before I go any further. During the last city council meeting, I said the word redistricting. I was corrected. Apparently, although that word had been used previously in mentioning that there had really been no further discussion about this, I was corrected, and it was suggested that I use the word realignment. So redistricting, realignment, there is a request from the city council for a discussion regarding this. Member Shabilia, I guess this is yours.
Yes, so this item stems from not the last city council meeting, but one a few meetings ago, where there was a lot of discussion about redistricting, realignment. I don't care which one of those things you call it. They are effectively the same thing. However, there is no one sitting at this table and no one sitting at that table that is qualified to have an opinion on how that should work. North Andover recently went out and brought in a consultant who came in and did a big study and put it all together and said, this is what you should do. And I know that we're just kind of bleeding money with, consultants and audits and surveys and everything else. But if we're going to seriously go down the road of talking about a redistricting or a realignment, it should originate here. I know the city council likes to say that the school is part of the city and they can do whatever they want and they're gonna plan to do redistricting. That's cute, but that's us. This is what we do. And if I, quite frankly, would support having someone come in and do an evaluation, because I don't know what I don't know. I'm not an expert in any of this. I definitely have opinions, and I think it would probably be beneficial to us. But I'm basing that purely on the fact that I would have left my old house and driven by other people going to the Tenny who were going to the Marsh. Other than that, it's something that we either need to decide that we put the ask forward, hey, can we use free cash, because this would be the prime example of what free cash should be used for, to do this, have this consultant come in and make this determination, because it's a 2-3 year process, easily, and get that ball kind of rolling. Or everybody needs to just stop dropping the R word here like they're just using it to incite a riot, because that's all we're doing. We either need to do it or we need to stop.
Can I ask a question? I think and I agree with you, Member Shabilia. I think we need to have this conversation, and I'm pretty sure we had this conversation a few months ago and said, like, we should have a subcommittee here first, task force. This is a whole community conversation. But I think the one thing that I have not heard yet is why. The purpose of this is what? Are we looking to see if there's some financial savings or gains in doing something like this? Are we doing it because some people want this change? So I think that for me is like, if we're looking at a subcommittee, which we did decide that, didn't we? Okay, we did, right? Okay, I mean, the only thing I can't remember is if we selected the people on it, but I really, that for me, and I think this. Oh, great. Okay, so we already have the subcommittee. So this is what again, we've put this process in place. I think if we did do that, and I am sorry I couldn't recall that. I knew we had a conversation about a subcommittee, everybody agreed, and we selected the folks on it. Then that subcommittee should be, the next step is what? And are we gonna do consulting firm, and then where are we gonna get the funds? How much does that cost? I can make some phone calls. But purpose, right? What is the, because if we do this, this is going to be just, like, another massive focus of time, resources, and energy, right? And I'm not saying it's not the right thing to do, or not, I don't know, but are we doing it to see? Because for me, that makes sense, if there's a purpose of, like, what is that reason, right? Is it looking at if we redo something, then our bus routes make sense, our programming makes sense, our staffing resources make sense, that's great, and somebody's looking at it from a completely different level and space than us sitting here on the ground. Totally get that, right? But I have yet to hear sort of the why. Is it just because, or does this group feel, and I think that's what we feel, but I need to kind of hear that or say that explicitly, right? Like, because I think the subcommittee needs that direction too. If that's what we're looking at this for, to see, is there consolidation of programming or grades, or,
Right, so for me, it's twofold. It's financial, because you'll have consolidations hopefully from busing and a few other things. And then also from the pure aspect, when you go back and look at the last meeting, the Timmy and the Tenny are by far larger than the CGS and the Marsh.
but the building spaces.
The buildings are also
Are as well. So we have to keep that in mind, that the building capacity of 3 of the buildings is very different than the
And
CGS.
there is also a perception in the community that I've heard several times that 2 of the schools would be considered, I don't know the appropriate word to say it, but you have 2 schools that are more diverse and 2 schools that are not, which I don't know if it's accurate or not.
The Tiffany and the Tenny have the highest minority and low income. The CGS is a close third, and the Marsh is a close fourth. So they're not as far apart as people think. The Tenny and the Tiffany are 59, 61% low income, which is something that we look at.
I put the subcommittee, I put it on it, and I explained why, is because, one, the last time we redistrict was, 20-something years ago, when Timney opened up in the Tenny?
It was before 24 years ago, because it was before I got
Yeah,
there.
24.
It was in 1999 because I got bumped from the CGS
Yeah,
over to the Timothy.
Yeah, and I got bumped over from the Ashford.
It was actually,
Yeah, and I got bumped over from the Ashford to the Timney.
There it is.
So, okay, the Ashford School, by the way, okay? So it's just, it's too long for a city not to redistrict, like, or someone that I know, what? Evaluate, but, or go down, or realignment now, the word is that the, Ned's Nick, okay, okay. So it's only proper to do that. And what I said was the finance, because if a bus that's going to the Tenny could go to the Marsh or whatever, that's one thing. And I'm sorry, that is, or we cut it down where a parent doesn't need to drive across town, which, again, there's so many things I could think of just doing this could help on many different levels. But, and that's what I said. Also, like I remember Shabili said, there's populations in these 2 schools, but heard that these other 2 schools doesn't. And if we can shift students to another school to balance that, so a school is not being over capacity of students in a classroom, like, you know what I mean? Like, over the years, like one school might have 27, where one school, because just the grade level could be 21, if we can balance it out. There's so many factors we could talk about. And like I said, remember, when I talked about it back at that meeting, I totally agree with you. We don't have the manpower or resources ourselves to make those decisions. I actually said there's like 3 consulting firms in Massachusetts that do that, which the whole point of the subcommittee is, when we talk about it and saying, okay, we want to go this route of consultant, bring it back to the school committee, and then just vote on it. But I'd rather go and have that subcommittee meet and say, okay, I got 3 choices here. Which one do you want to look at? Or, like, I've called one a couple of months ago, which I I would have to recall. But I would say that's what the subcommittee is all about. It's moving that forward to a consulting or if we can get it towards the process, the next school committee can pick up on it. And I know already if someone gets elected who will be on it. Nick would be, yeah. So I would say let's get the process rolling. That was the whole point of the meeting of the subcommittee. We already discussed what the terms were. So, yeah.
Member Maxwell?
So I was interested in the conversation on redistricting, one, because of the busing, and I know that you have said that, like, you've driven past people going, and so I think that would save time and maybe some money when it comes to busing. The other interest I had, and I've spent a lot of time looking into it, is elementary versus junior high and making some of our buildings elementary versus junior high. I do have the numbers of how many K through 4 students and K through 5 students and 5 through 8. So I've done the research there, and I don't want to say it would be like next to impossible to do it, but it would be hard because the capacity limits for the buildings don't hold the amount of students that we have. Like just to give you an example, K through 5, we have 2,845 students. None of our buildings would hold that. So I was very interested in redistricting and the conversation that came with it for that purpose, to make them elementary versus junior high versus high school. But I would be interested to see what the subcommittee comes up with, because I think there's a lot that goes into it, and I don't know that 2 or 3 years is long enough, but it seems like a very big process. But I would love to hear more of the conversation of the subcommittee, though.
Member Donovan?
And I will say, after that meeting, the city council meeting, I got 15 calls from parents and staff members who, I don't know if they saw the meeting or word started spreading that, by the time it gets to people, oh my God, we're going to redistrict. And I felt that was extremely unfair. And we've put our staff and our families through enough in the last few months. It's been a really tumultuous end to the school year. And to just throw this out with a suggestion of how to do it, and it might be a great idea, but it may not be, I thought was very irresponsible. And it saddened me, because we don't go around as a school committee deciding how to set the water and sewer rates, do we? So I think when we all skate our lane, things happen in the way it's supposed to happen. And I know elections are coming up. So when this does, and I'm grateful that there's a discussion, because there has been questions about inequity in the last few years, perceived and maybe perceived incorrectly when you look at the breakdown at the schools. I would hope that we would have our parents involved and our staff involved, and it's not just us sitting here saying this is what needs to be. It is a very emotional process. I was around for the first one. It's an extremely emotional process when you tell families your child's going to go somewhere else. When you tell a first grader, here's an example that we need to think about, you're going to go to one school and your 7th grade is going to go to another school. So go figure that out. So I hope collectively we can be mindful of the impact this could make on our families and our students. I had a kid stop me at Market Basket, say, do I have to go to another school next year? I thought, wow, word travels fast in Methuen, and inaccurately. So I just hope our colleagues in other elected positions are mindful that there are a lot of people who have so many moving parts to sending their kids to school, and they're so connected, and they want what we want for our kids, fairness and equity, that we take this slowly and purposefully. And again, if we went around the room right now and said, why are we doing this? I don't know what kind of answers we get. Why are we doing this? Why? I don't know. And I'm not asking anyone to respond right now, but So I think we need to let our families and staff know nothing's happening really fast without your contributions. Thank you.
Very well said and agreed, thank you. Member Willett?
I have to agree with my colleague on this because you're going to have 2 school committee members automatically departing from the school committee, and you have 4 members of the city council automatically because of not running or term limits. Okay, that's a sizable composition of those 2 bodies. Now, the information is readily obtainable. If there's any element of racial disparity between our schools, DESE provides that information in terms of low income, racial breakdown, demographics, all that information is readily available. Now, if we're doing a cost savings component to that and have an outside consultant, I mean, obviously we're doing an audit, we're gonna explore consolidation, but I don't see like a immediate rush to the situation. In North Andover, they had a consultant report, and it's now collecting dust because they had to do emergency provisions within the North Andover school system because of cutbacks. So I understand back in 1999, and I did serve on a school committee at that time, so I'm aging myself, it was trench warfare. People were fighting over street by street like it was Stalingrad. So automatically, I like the idea of having an outside consultant, but I agree with Member Donovan, and I agree with the superintendent. Automatically, we have to define what is the purpose of redistricting. And I'm gonna say redistricting. This whole realignment, stop it with the semantics, okay? We know what we're doing. We can gather the data from DESE. We can go over what the details of the outside consultants, how much it would cost. Ultimately, I think it would have to be undertaken by the city council, maybe at a future joint meeting, whoever is on the city council or the school committee next year. That could be the first agenda item, but you really have to rationalize to me and provide a deep reasoning for why we're going into redistricting, because we've already become a majority-minority district. We're a gateway community. Now, if there's racial disparity amongst the schools, I think the superintendent said it's very marginal. And you have to realize, too, there's people that live maybe in the Marsh School District, but they receive special programming at the Tenney. So are we automatically going to uproot that programming at the Tenney and just go to the Marsh? How are we going to work out the logistics of that? The busing, I thought it came back to us, is that it really isn't that much of a cost savings. So I understand back in 1999, it was a racial disparity component, and we needed to do redistricting because we were going to have the state involved in the situation. And again, it was trench warfare. It was Stalingrad. So I'm not interested in revisiting that. I don't see a rush from our colleagues in the city council. I think we're doing a disservice to the citizens of Methuen. And we're going to have elections. So in the interim, we can gather information, continue with the subcommittee, and then when we have the joint meeting in January, whoever is the mayor, whoever's the city councilors, whoever's the school committee members, at that moment in time, that could be the first item on the agenda. But I'm not seeing a sudden urgency to rush in this. Thank you.
So to summarize for the people who may be watching, while redistricting is on the agenda as a point of discussion, while there is a subcommittee that is being formed and brought into existence, the Methuen Public Schools are not being redistricted or realigned in the next year, probably for a very long time, if it ever does come to fruition. So just to put that to bed. Member DiZoglio, do you have something to add?
So also, I want the public to know, because I did not see this meeting that happened 2 meetings ago. Also, the consultant, like when you hire these consultants, they might come back and tell us that our district is perfect the way it is. There's not really any changes you can do. All right, or what? Yeah, all right. So, okay, thank you. But at the end of the day, though, like I want people at home, like I said, this is a 2-3 year process, and our consultants, first we have to get it approved by the school committee, and then also, then it has to go to the city council. You know how long that takes for them to approve. I'll throw a shot. But we might not get it for another year to even get the consultant to come in. So just to clarify that, also, we will then have to meet, and I would want Member Donovan to know that at that last meeting when we formed the subcommittee, because those were also concerns, we said out loud that even after the consultant came, we would take that to the public and have open discussions, probably for months, having open discussions with parents. Because I understand, I just moved to the city when we realigned the first time. And I remember we were at the Ashford School, and then next thing you know, we were told we were going to the Timney, and my father was like, wait a minute, I was just told the school that my sons would be going to is only a half a block away. Now you're telling me I got to go all the way down here. And he had no idea. So I remember the trench warfare that because my father was at those meetings and going like, we just moved here. And now you're telling us that kids are not even going to be near us. So I don't want anybody thinking that I formed this subcommittee so I could start everybody up in an uproar. No, I feel like it's time, it's good, healthy, that it's our obligation to evaluate what our schools are doing and what we can do to save costs or help, limit anything that could possibly be a burden on the schools, especially with budgets and everything. If this can help, but if it comes back that it doesn't, then we don't realign. We just have that plan and we just go back to where it was. So I just wanted people to know, like, that's my intention. It's just to do what's best for Methuen. It's not to cause people to feel like the kids are being taken out of their schools and teachers next year. That I'm sorry that people made that message, because that was never the intentions. So that's all.
Thank you, Member DiZoglio. We'll now move on to the discussion regarding legal counsel. Vice Chair and Member Shabilia, you're listed for this.
So this is another one that stems from that same meeting. There was a comment made about a consolidation effort to move school legal counsel under the city. I would hope, outside of the fact that there are 2 general laws that say that that can't happen, that any conversation about consolidations would be had with the committee or a subcommittee, or at least the superintendent. And that aside, I would like to ask the superintendent, since we're talking about legal, would you be able to give me an update on the CKLA contract? My understanding is we are not going to be starting the year with the reading program.
So I would probably ask Dr. Golubsky to speak to it, only because she has the timeline. And we're starting with a reading program. We're not starting with the CKLA materials. We're not going to not have kids teaching reading. We have a nice outline for kids to be able to do it, but we do not have the materials in hand at this time. So.
You consulted me there. What does that?
Yeah. We're going to let Dr. Golubsky answer, but there was a delay in getting the contract approved and the materials here, but we did get that resolved with some team effort. Just was delayed.
So on September 16th, we have a full-day professional development day. So there'll be 5 trainers from CKLA flying out to train teachers for the full day. The following Friday, the week after, there's another professional development early release day where our teachers will have more training. So we're not asking teachers to start right away without training, feeling unsure of the materials. They all have digital access and are welcome to peruse and look at it. But after the full-day training and then the follow-up half-day right away, we think the teachers will be equipped to do so. So there's that piece, where we really want people to have what they need in terms of training. At the onset of the year, we have the M-Class benchmarking. So on Thursday of this week, the reading specialists will be trained across the district in administering the M-Class assessment, and then we'll go to teachers' classrooms individually to make sure that we're calibrated and everyone understands how to work with that platform. And the humanities supervisors have done a really nice job crosswalking foundations from last year with where we'll be with CKLA skills, and then providing support to students and priming them to get ready for the CKLA.
Okay, I also heard that there are some AP courses that have renewing contracts annually that were also not going to be ready. I don't have a timeline on that
Can I
either.
just start? So, yeah, so I think there's some questions about like what's happening, right? Some of our processes have changed, so we've been asked to change our contract as of June. We have always had an MPS contract that we had an agreement with the city that's, because our services and goods is very different than some of the city, but
Yes.
we still have certain language we have to abide by. So I think what's happened is that we were asked to change the contract to have it be only city template, which has thrown our vendors off, because our vendors are typically the ones that either give us a contract, we redo it, or we give our MPS contract that has educational language, right? So while the devil's in the detail with Dr. Golubsky and her and team, that some of that process has been challenging over the summer with timelines and edits and delays. So we're not going to lie, at this point, there are definitely contracts still sitting to be reviewed that have been different than were okay last summer. And so we're wondering sort of the why behind that. Some folks are not in their offices right now, and so we're being told that we just have to wait until those people return. And, that's a 2, sometimes 3-week delay and turnaround for us right now. I think Dr. Golubsky and Yvonne, our procurement and grant specialists, have been sort of gathering what we still have outstanding. I do know that they started with grants and materials that we physically needed in the district. So, they worked on that in July, knowing there was going to be shipping time for certain things. And so they strategically worked through those in July, August for digital licenses, thinking those would be a little bit of an easier turnaround. It's more of a flip, you flip the switch. We're not looking for like products and goods, so that's helpful.
So you had mentioned we took the educational language out of our template.
We didn't know.
We didn't, the city solicitor did.
I am going to turn it over to Dr. Golubsky now. That is the general information that I have been included on at this point, and I have certainly been a little more involved the past 2 weeks.
Sure. So mostly the contracts that we're waiting on are renewals of digital licenses that we've had previously or from vendors that we've used previously. And so typically the process is quicker. When it's $10,000 or over, we go through the procurement process, there's a contract involved. But from my understanding is that the contract that we're being asked to use now is heavier and really dense. And so when we send it back to the vendor, they're not sure quite what to do with it, and they need to send it to their legal team, who then sends it back with their edits, and it's becoming a back and forth process. Usually it's simpler. And some of the pieces are, could be an $11,000 renewal to a program we've had for several years, and it's just become a little bit cumbersome. So in the recent weeks, or the last week, we've been trying to work together as a team to move through it, but they are all buttons that just need to be pressed digitally. We're not looking to have materials shipped at this point. We've already ordered those.
We can't have the license turn on, so that means we have kids coming to class on Wednesday, and because we have changes being made arbitrarily, we aren't ready. We aren't ready for some of these kids to start class.
I think there are some pieces that it would be advantageous for the teachers are asking and emailing me and asking because they want to start planning ahead and looking ahead and have pieces saved from their previous license they want to look at. So for those classes they'll be in a holding pattern until it's turned on.
So how often are we sending school-related matters over to the city solicitor? Because I know we don't have I don't know, a formal relationship, but I do know that historically we have sent matters over to them for handling.
So I think anything that's finance related, like a contract, that we would have Maggie and the city solicitor look at. That's just what we do. So that's where this is all, that's what we're talking about right now is under that umbrella. So we're not sending any of this. Typically, it goes through their procurement office at City Hall and our office, and then
And Lori
usually,
would send it over.
yeah, usually we're done, and there's some edits maybe between the two of them to make sure it's covered. So there's a little bit of a change in that, meaning that they're coming back to us with these edits, legal edits.
No, but I mean, like, for, like, say, a personal injury or a workers' comp or anything like that, is any of that stuff done in-house?
So workman's comp, actually, there's a insurance attorney that works with us.
Okay.
So that's, the city solicitor's office has all the information.
Our carrier assigns.
Right, so they have all the information, so we might have a meeting, let's say, with the insurance attorney, the city solicitor might be present.
I didn't
and
know
then
if,
at some
as
point,
a self-insured entity, if we had to do it ourselves.
that's one I've been involved with, but it's typically whoever the insurance assigned attorney is for us.
So I
You know,
know we
employment
sent over the.
I mean, the most recent one that dealt with both sides was, the previous superintendent litigation. That was a meeting between Attorney Maccaro's office and the city solicitor. I think the mayor and I were both sitting on that one. It was decided at that meeting that Attorney Maccaro's office would handle that, so they are handling that contract because it was both parties, the school committee and the city, were named as defendants on that.
Just, I worry now because we are now delaying academics because of contracts. Contracts that should have been done in July or August or whenever, but before the start of school, no matter how you slice it. So.
I think there's, I'm sorry, there's some added conversation, and I'm going to let the mayor speak, but I think there's some open dialogue right now between the mayor and I about processes and making sure that we're on a streamlined path. It's hard to recognize sometimes that the urgency for us certain times a year is just very different than the rest of the world, right?
Yes.
And so the fiscal year turns over, we need POs right away for renewals, right? Like, it's a different sense of urgency, July and August, for any school district. We're not unique in that, right? And so sometimes that's hard because, as you know, we've had conversations about every department. Everybody takes vacation in June and July, right? We need POs, we need renewals, we need everything to kind of happen in June and July, right? So the mayor and I have had some open conversations about this and better streamlining and communication about this process between our departments. So I feel confident that there's some information being shared that should be helpful in moving this, in a different, more positive direction.
Just to add some additional clarification, this is one area where there's a lot of confusion even on the city side about the structure of legal functions and the like. So when it comes to the legal department, that is the one city side department aside from the city council office that is not under the umbrella of the administration. That is a city council function, and if you'll recall, earlier in the year, the city council let the prior solicitor go, and in essence, we had a period where the assistant solicitor became the acting solicitor, And that went on for an extensive period of time, and now that individual is the city solicitor. There has been no backfilling of the assistant role yet. So that office is, when I say short-staffed and dealing with issues as it relates to getting things processed and out the door, it's quite extensive in terms of the degree that to which they're behind. McQuillan. So there's a lot going on there. But that just adds to this issue. So now going forward, as the superintendent referenced, working within that, context, given the fact that legal functions fall under the legislative branch rather than the executive branch, I think the opportunity is there for us to perhaps try to coordinate, I guess, to the extent that we're able to, even though those functions are not under either umbrella, so to speak. Member Maxwell?
I have some concerns. I know we're talking about attorneys, but I have some concerns with hearing that the CKLA curriculum isn't ready for the start of the school year. And by the sounds of it, it's not going to be ready for what's going to turn into months, because that's how processes go here. But what is the curriculum for the start of school? Is it the same curriculum as last year?
No, so the materials are, I just checked the date or expectation. They'll be in the buildings for the 9th, but again, they won't be trained till the 16th, so there's no super rush for them to start using it. They'll be able to access things online tomorrow. So at the start of the school year, the first couple days before we head into the long weekend, teachers usually get acquainted with their class, start building relationships. When we head into that next week, that's when we're going to start looking at the M class with the benchmarking, and the reading specialists will travel around. We also have several pieces of curricula that are supplemental. So Newsella has lessons and stories that pair exactly with CKLA and will prime that prior knowledge to launch into the first unit. So that's one of the options that we had suggested teachers use. Also the Foundations crosswalk that I referenced and how that matches with skills. The different phonics program or foundational program we're going to use. They can fill the space there, and then very soon after, before we know it, it'll be their full day launch. They'll be unpacking the units, internalizing the units, and can feel free to begin.
So that's towards the end of September.
I'm sorry?
That's towards the end of September when this will start, because the teachers aren't going to be trained.
By the 29th, we have said that everyone needs to be full force in it.
So
they're able to
by
begin.
September 29th, they're going to be using this curriculum.
Everybody. If they choose to start earlier, and some people did pilot last year, so they did receive training and might feel ready to go. They have everything they need in the digital platform, and they can begin.
Are we not concerned about the transition that's going to happen for the students?
I think it's going to be a fine transition for the students.
If they started it at the beginning of the year, maybe.
No, we're talking about a week and a half, really, of them coming back to school, learning routines, becoming acquainted.
So from Wednesday to September 29th, we're in limbo with our ELA curriculum.
No.
Well, yes, because our teachers aren't going to be trained on the CKLA. So yes.
No, they're being trained on the 16th, full day. Many teachers are trained last year that piloted or feel comfortable beginning and want to jump in. They're welcome to do so. They have full access to everything they need digitally. We put a hard date on it to be clear with implementation. That was on the recommendation of our Literacy Acceleration Network coach and CKLA. They said put a firm date on it of when we expect everyone to be implementing with integrity, so that we can be certain that what we're looking at is CKLA, and that's September 29th. So this, to fully adopt and implement a brand new program in knowledge and skills and the M-Class and the Boost.
What's the M-Class? Sorry.
That's the benchmarking
Like
piece.
the screening tool?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the new version with the digital piece. where now it comes out with the data immediately to teachers and suggests grouping and what teachers should maybe do with it. There's a lot of learning that needs to occur. So to really implement fully, it's a multiple year process, and so if we rush it at the beginning and it feels choppy and people aren't prepared, we're setting ourselves up for failure. So with the PRISM grant that Dr. Kwong mentioned, that's going to be hugely important, because along with the money to buy materials, we also get coaching, we get more walkthrough support from TNTP on top of the PD that we've already purchased from CKLA. So there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of hands on deck. We started a literacy council with the PRISM grant, so there's representation from teachers and admin who will meet regularly. We just got accepted into 2 working groups for the state, one focusing on CKLA and the other focusing on EL education. So we'll meet regularly with other districts in the same implementation phase that we are and beyond to figure out where they went wrong, what went well. So we're really going full blast with the literacy, and there's going to be a lot of hands on deck. So I think when we have everyone feeling comfortable and excited about the process, we're going to see recognizable gains. Right on time.
Vice Chair?
So the point of this discussion was really, the impetus was that at the city council meeting, it was mentioned that, the school legal was going to be done by the city solicitor. And this discussion, from my point of view, is that the city solicitor doesn't seem to be able to keep up with the contracts alone of what we're sending him, and it's a bottleneck, and we're not getting our contracts done on time so that our kids have the curriculum that they need. And so I don't understand the conversation on the city council side saying that we should put our legal under the city solicitor when he can't seem to do what we need him to do just based on contracts. And how in heaven's name is he supposed to take over our educational legal? It makes no sense to me. And I don't understand why anyone would be pushing for us to be using the city solicitor more when our stuff is already a bottleneck and we can't get our curriculums to our kids on time. So to me, it seems insane to me that people want to have us use more legal from the city when they're already bogged down, they're already short-staffed, and we have a team of lawyers that we go to for all of our educational needs that are experts in education law. The city solicitor is not an expert in educational law. And if I need somebody to write a will, I'm not going to go to a real estate lawyer. So why would I ask the city solicitor, who is not an educational lawyer, to do educational law? So I really wish that this conversation among the bodies would just die, because it makes no sense. And I think that asking the city solicitor to go represent the schools for a special education issue in court makes no sense. We're going to end up with more kids out of district because it's not his expertise. So I just wish this entire conversation would just be put to bed. It makes no sense from our perspective, or from my personal perspective, to have the city solicitor doing educational law. That's all.
Something to add?
So just to piggyback off of the Madam Vice Chair, we also went to the city solicitor to take on a case for us, and he told us to go to our lawyers. So right there and then, that just shows that he knows that our lawyers have expertise in something. So in dealing with just being out in the public where they have heard this on city council, it's ridiculous that the schools have their own legal team and we can't be using our solicitor when we pay him. I want parents to understand, where you hear Madam Vice Chair is talking about our lawyers deal with IEPs, they deal with
Discipline.
discipline.
Discipline, personnel,
keep going.
contracts. Yeah, no, I think, no, I appreciate that part of it. I think, this was part of a broader conversation, obviously, of our legal counsel,
Yeah.
your legal counsel. We have two of them, even, because the expertise of one law office is student-facing, right? IEPs, 504s, student discipline, and those are, the turnaround times are, like, I have 3 days, 4 days, right? There's timelines there that they support us with. And then the legal counsel of, that Attorney Maccaro comes out of is really contracts, personnel, sort of the adult matters, right? And that's their, MGL, and I think Member Shabilia just said it, like, under MGL, which, that's educational law, right? Nobody had to, I think, Member Shabilia, you found that, but Attorney Maccaro was like, it's right here. This is our level of expertise. Like, it is a law that school committees have the right and are expected to select their legal counsel. So the fact that that didn't come up either, is odd. I
that's
guess,
concerning.
as I was listening and watching, because we know that, because that's educational law, right? That's something that the body expects. But you're right, it's very specific to, the experience and the general laws around employment, contracts, personnel, teachers, and then Ryan's, Member DiZoglio, what you said about IEPs, 504s, school discipline. So thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, I took your time.
It's a very fruitful discussion, but I just want to point out that we're at 8:50.
Yeah.
We have, I think, one other item on the agenda. I think we could probably get
Yeah.
to 9 o'clock without needing to extend for once, which is good. You have something very brief to add?
No, I just.
I'll stop. Thank
No. I just wanted the public to know, because I have literally heard this now 10 times about how people are frustrated with the fact that we have our own legal team in the city. We should be using the cities, where Madam, Dr. Kwong has already, this is why we have our separate legal team, and I just wanted the public to know that.
Just to very briefly wrap up, this doesn't fix the current issue that we're discussing. However, we just posted a couple of days ago the Assistant City Solicitor job posting. So hopefully this will help the caseload for the city side going forward. Nevertheless, we've had certainly some bottlenecking issues this
Very,
summer.
very briefly.
Yes,
Okay, I
Member
think
Willett.
the crux of the issue is, they're talking about the cost of outsourcing. So if strictly the city solicitor was doing everything in-house, they might have a meritorious argument to their case. They outsource a lot of cases. So I would want to have a compilation of those outsourced cases and what the cost factor are. If they did strictly everything in-house and handled all those cases, the major controversial cases for the city of Methuen, they might have like a merit to their case or their argument. They don't. They outsource a lot of cases. So please, stop it.
Thank you, Member Willett. We'll move on to Member Donovan Grassie's discussion regarding the cable TV account funds.
As many of you know, since I came on the board, I have been asking about the alleged agreement that the city, MCS, and the schools have in the disbursement of the cable funds. I forget what the exact, what we call it, but the cable companies pay the city money for for coming into this community and offering services and getting big money. So I have been asking for a long time, and I never really got answers. And I understand everyone's busy, and it has been something that has been kicked around since I have been following school committee, which was a long time ago. The sense that, and it comes up at every budget meeting, like, where's the money that the city owes us from the cable? And I think it contributes to some of that sense of lack of transparency and distrust between the two boards. So rather than keep bugging people, I just filed an FOI, and I got a very comprehensive report back from Ms. Dupre, and it's not the news I was hoping for, but the news is there was not an agreement. And hold on. There is in writing how the money is shared between MCS and the city. And it may have come from years ago when our very first modern-day mayor, DiZoglio, when they started MCS, and it was at the high school. So the sense of the money was going there. So I appreciate the effort that the city went in to provide the information. Maybe we could work something out and we get a cut in the deal. It's a thought. But I just felt, since I've been asking, and I just wanted to share this information with you. So maybe we don't waste time, or I don't waste time, come budget, saying, where's our money? Where's our money?
Yeah, so, Member Shapiro, you have something to add?
I can tell you without any doubt, because I am on the committee, as you know, that negotiates those contracts with Verizon and Comcast, that when those contracts are put together, the school is included in that conversation, and that is put forward. Because I went to the teacher back here, and Lisa was on the email, and asked them, what do we need? And that was sent to the committee and to Karen and put forward. So whatever agreement is there or floating, the intent from formation was always the three parties, because those are the three municipal broadcasting locations.
But there is nothing in writing, and it seems to be more of I think it was a gentleman's agreement. And back during the Zanny administration, I believe some of that money, there was money given to us, from what my research showed, and under the guise of, this comes from the cable company. But I just want to stop talking about it one way or the other, unless we can come up with another plan.
So, good point. So I just want to be cognizant of the time. I'm going to briefly say this. Just because there isn't an existing official set in stone agreement that outlines this clearly, doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be going forward. So I think that we should certainly have that conversation.
Maybe we can talk about it at our first Finance Committee
There we go.
meeting. Okay, yay.
Now, before we move on to other business, I want to mention two things. So I've gotten some questions about, and I guess this is other business technically. I've gotten some questions about several topics from members of this body, but also the city council. I don't have anything official on the agenda for the next meeting on the 2nd. However, I'm aiming to have something in place for the second meeting in September. So there are two issues. First of all, at a recent meeting, this body voted, in essence, I believe, to surplus two school buildings, correct? Pleasant Valley School and the Courier School. The city would take full custody of those buildings. Now, going forward, this is something that I have not discussed this. I have not mentioned this yet to the city council. I plan on doing that on the 2nd, and I plan on having something formalized at some point in September. Now, my thinking with that is, if I had my way and I was able to go forward with the process of determining what to do with those buildings on my own without any other players involved, what I would do is I would first of all seek to sell both of those buildings and allocate 100% of the proceeds of the sale to the Methuen Public Schools budget. If we were to do that, of course, it'd be subject to city council approval. That's why I'm saying that that's something that I can't do that unilaterally, as one person. But something that I am going to propose is the idea, and this is something that's already been done with some school buildings, but I want to formalize it going forward. I am looking into the prospect of establishing, in essence, a school-to-housing conversion incentive program, where the city would seek to incentivize the conversion of the Pleasant Valley School, and the Courier School into affordable housing for low-income seniors, which I think is a tremendous need in our community. And so that is in the works. I'm in the process of researching exactly what that would entail, but that is something that I think would be in the best interest of the city and would help us solve several different issues all in one swoop, addressing a key housing need for our city, but also assisting with funding concerns for the schools. Secondly, this is something that is a little further down the pike, and I know, looking at the clock, very briefly, the school bus arm deal. So the city council is adopting that state statute that allows for us to install those cameras. I know that we had a question about whether we could facilitate that with the contract, determine that we can. So that's something that is going to be in the works. My goal with that is to set up a school transportation revolving fund where money that is derived from fines as a result of the illegal passing of stop school buses, that would be placed into a revolving fund where we could use that to pay school transportation costs and help to defray that from a budgetary standpoint. So those are two things that I'm looking at. Haven't fully cooked those ideas yet, but I just wanted to share that because I've gotten enough questions. With that, do we have any other business for the, from the committee? Yes.
There was a statement made earlier about the wellness policy and how it was not discussed at the subcommittee meeting. Just for the record, the reason that was not discussed is because we got the opinion from the attorney, what was it, 7 minutes before the meeting? And unfortunately, I was at work and didn't have time to read that before hopping online to this meeting. So we said we would bring it up at our next meeting, which this is a continuation. That's why it wasn't on this agenda. So this meeting is not being kicked down the road. That agenda is not being kicked down the road. It is being held because there was a lawsuit and we have to follow the rules.
And until then, the current policies all stand,
Still in place.
right? Yep, yep, I just.
Do we have any other business from the, I was gonna say the community, the committee? Are we good?
I think we just all want to wish our staff and students.
Absolutely.
Welcome back.
Great school year.
Oh, yeah. We want to wish everybody a good, happy
school
school
year.
year. Yep.
Absolutely. Alrighty, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from member Shabilia, the second is from member DiZoglio. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are right around 9 o'clock. Have a good
Good
night.
night, Methuen.